Hello and welcome to Memo Anime Recaps. Do not forget to like and subscribe. We all know that having psychic powers makes life easy for practically whoever is blessed with it. Most people will count having supernatural powers as a blessing. However, this is not the case with our beloved protagonist Kusuo Saiki. He is a pink-haired teenager with supernatural powers. 16 years ago, he was born into an ordinary family. His father, Kuniharu Saiki, and mother, Kurumi Saiki, are both lovely people. Kusuo started speaking at 14 days old. At a month old, he was already walking. He's able to walk in the air, even. When he was a year old, he ran his first errand. His mother ran out of a cooking ingredient, and Kusuo teleported to the store to get the ingredients needed, and even more. Even with all of his powers, his parents did not panic. He was not taken to a hospital or a research facility normal parents would have done. Years later, Kusuo is now a high school student. He has the power of telepathy, psychokinesis, X-ray vision, and teleportation, among others. Regular people would have been happy to be blessed with such powers, but Kusuo is different. He is unhappy with his powers. He believes that the powers have taken away the basic things of life from him. The sense of acquiring the needs of life is no longer there. However, Kusuo has resorted to a life of peace. In the next scene, Kusuo arrives back home from school to find out that his father is at the door waiting for him. He is not able to enter because his wife has changed the locks again. Kusuo uses his powers to unlock the door so the duo can enter. Upon entering, his parents start shouting at each other. The once peaceful and romantic relationship has turned into something else. All they do is argue and shout at each other at all times. At dinner, Kurumi served her husband with a shoe dish. The dish is basically a worn shoe with sauce added to it. This is done to spite her husband even more. Come to look at it, Kusuo's mother is a very calm and kind person. This is the reason Kusuo has not turned to the dark side. His mother has taught him to be calm and nice. Kusuo just ignores the duo as they fight. He believes that it is best if the duo works it out on their own, and he doesn't need to interfere. Kusuo sits down to enjoy a cup of jelly coffee. Kusuo is in the middle of this when his parents interrupt his mealtime with their useless fight. Kusuo is frustrated, and he decides to interfere. Apparently, the duo still loves each other very much, but they are only lying. Kusuo knows this because he can read their thoughts. He used his telepathy power to make the duo hear each other's thoughts. The duo realizes that they are still much in love with each other, but they have just been pretending. They ended up settling their differences. Kusuo still lost his coffee jelly at the end because his mother collected it and gave it to her husband out of love. Up next, we find out that Kusuo is attending a private school known as PK Academy. There are 542 students in the school. None of the students knows about his powers. He has decided from when he was in kindergarten that no one would learn of his powers again. His kindergarten teacher then suspected that he had powers, and she eventually left the school. Kusuo was undefeated in every game he participated in then. He uses telepathy to know what his opponents are thinking. Kusuo uses his telepathy power to know if there's anyone around him before using his powers. His telepathy powers have a distance of 200 meters. However, there is a guy in his class that Kusuo has difficulties reading his mind. He can't know what the guy is thinking. The guy's name is Nendou. Kusuo has been able to figure out why he can't read Ricky's mind. It's nothing serious. He is basically just an idiot. He has no thoughts at all. During the student gathering, one of the students, Takashi, collapsed. Ricky and Kusuo rushed him to the nurse's office. Takashi suddenly wakes up in the nurse's office when Ricky gives him CPR. He tells the duo that he is pretending and not sick at all. He is disgusted that Ricky gave him CPR. Just then, the PE teacher enters the room to check on Takashi. The student quickly pins the blame on Ricky. Kusuo would have let it slide. The guy decided to add Kusuo to the equation. Kusuo gets angry and makes sure to expose Takashi. Kusuo used pyrokinesis to make Takashi's body temperature go up, and he was forcefully taken to the hospital. Kusuo is trying to get rid of the thermometer used when Ricky finds him. He believes that Kusuo is suffering from the same sickness as Takashi, and he is forced to go to the hospital too. In the next scene, we are introduced to another student, Kaidou. He is a second-year student who attends the academy. He always presents himself as someone with superpowers. He believes that he will save the world. One day, Shun tells the students that a venomous snake escaped. He counts it as the Jet Black Wing's plot to destroy the world. He always says the Dark Reunion Society is his enemy, and they are hell-bent on destroying the world. However, he promises not to fall for their devious plans. Shun is always trying to be friends with Kusuo because he believes that Kusuo is the only person who understands him. He doesn't know that Kusuo actually has superpowers. Shortly afterward, the snake is found lost in the school. Kusuo has used his precognition powers to know beforehand. He has gone to hide in the restroom because he doesn't want to use his powers. Shun finds out about the snake, and he runs over there. He wants to act as the hero that he has always portrayed himself as. However, he soon regrets his actions when he comes face to face with the snake. Kusuo realizes that Shun will die if he doesn't interfere. He uses his electricity powers to take care of the snake, but everyone watching believes that Shun is responsible. They start seeing Shun as the hero. Shun, on the other hand, starts acting very special too. Later on, Kusuo is walking through the streets when he runs into the popular girl in school. Her name is Kokomi, and she is the dream of every guy that sees her. Kokomi sees Kusuo and decides to say hi. She is expecting Kusuo to act all crazy around her, but she is shocked when Kusuo ignores her. She believes that Kusuo didn't see her and decides to try again. However, the same thing happens over and over again. She then makes the conclusion that Kusuo is not there, and she is only imagining it. Kusuo uses this opportunity to teleport himself away. Kokomi finds out otherwise. This is how Kusuo is able to escape Kokomi's attention. Up next, it is time for the physical education class. This is Kusuo's least favorite class. He always tries to avoid any class or exercise that requires the use of physical powers. Kusuo's class is gathered for the class, but he doesn't seem enthusiastic about it. This is not the same for Kusuo's class rep, Kineshi Hairo. He is always interested when it comes to the physical education class. He also commands a lot of respect from his classmates. The students are divided into 2 teams. Each team is named after rock and paper. Team Paper is made up of 8 students. Kusuo and the class rep are both on at the same time. Riki is on the opposite team, which is Team Rock. Riki, Takashi, Seun, and 5 others are on Team Rock. They are to play a game of dodgeball. Each team gets to throw the ball, and any member of the team that gets hit or doesn't catch the ball is eliminated. The game starts and Paper gets to knock out someone from Team Rock. Rock immediately targets Kusuo for elimination. Kusuo doesn't want to play before, so he doesn't mind if they want him eliminated. The ball is thrown at him, and he just stands there. He allows the ball to hit, and he is about to leave the field when he is called back on. He is informed that there is a no-face rule. The ball hit him on the face, which means he still has another chance to play. This is bad news for Kusuo because he thinks he already escaped. Kusuo is expected to throw the next ball. He has to throw it in such a way that it won't hurt anybody. Kusuo picks up the ball and throws it with no force added to it. The ball is easily caught by the opposite team. Kusuo's team starts to complain that Kusuo is playing badly because his friend is on the other team. Shortly afterward, all of Kusuo's team is eliminated, except for Kusuo and Hairo. The next ball is thrown at Kusuo, but Hairo gets in the way and gets injured. Hairo is taken off. Team Paper's luck now rests fully on Kusuo. This is what he has been avoiding, but he doesn't have a choice now. Kusuo soon realizes that he is now the center of attraction to everyone watching. He is in a bit of a dilemma. If he wins the match, his fame will skyrocket among the students, but Kusuo doesn't want this. However, if he plays very badly, he will be treated worse than a bug. He will become a target for bullies and the like. Kusuo uses his power to read the feelings of people watching. He realizes that he just needs to stay on the average, and he is safe already. Kusuo picks up the ball and gently throws it at his opponent. His opponent fails to catch it and gets eliminated. Kusuo's favorability meter goes past average, and Kusuo is ready to throw the game. Shun throws the ball at Kusuo, but he fails, and Kusuo ends up catching the ball. Kusuo's favorability shoots up to over 60% again. Just then, Hairo comes back to support Kusuo after claiming that his injury is better. Hairo and Kusuo end up winning the match for their team. Kusuo's favorability finally ended up being 82% after the match. Kusuo says he will find a way to bring it down. Up next, Kusuo reveals why he doesn't want to associate himself with Kokomi even though she is the most popular girl. Kusuo is able to read her thoughts and he knows that she is a brat. On the other hand, there is a girl, Chiyo, that catches Kusuo's attention. Kusuo can read her mind, and he is well aware that the girl has a crush on him. Kusuo is looking for a way to get Chiyo to stop thinking about her. Chiyo starts doing all sorts of things to get Kusuo to notice her, but Kusuo is always a step ahead. This prevents Kusuo from falling for her trap. All of Chiyo's plans to get Kusuo's attention fail spectacularly. Kusuo is very sure that Chiyo will eventually find someone else. He has not finished thinking about this when a guy shows up and approaches Chiyo. In the next scene, Kusuo's parents want to move some pieces of furniture. They can actually do it themselves, but they want their son to use his powers to help them out. Kusuo intentionally handles all the tasks they give to him carelessly. He is doing this to stop them from calling him the little things they can do by themselves. They want him to tear down the walls separating their rooms, but Kusuo fumbles it. His parents accept their fate after so much pressure. Up next, Kusuo arrives at school to find out that there is an emergency inspection. Kusuo doesn't have any issues with inspections because he is always dressed neatly and according to the school rules. Even if he has issues, he is able to adjust someone's thoughts for a few minutes. On the other hand, people are always surprised by the 2 short antennas on Kusuo's head. Kusuo has tricked them into believing that the antennas are hairpins. This has given him the opportunity to walk around without questions. When Kusuo was born, He was born with pink hair, which is very unusual in this part of the world. Kusuo has used his power to change the ecology of humans to start growing different hair colors. By this, he won't be questioned or suspected of being different. Kusuo has also found a way to make humans evolve rapidly so that they can do things exceptionally. This is all in the bid to make sure that he doesn't stand out too much among humans. Kusuo already has so much impact on the world and the people living in it. In the next scene, Kusuo finds a street magician, Uryoku Chuno. People are gathered to watch him perform his tricks. Kusuo cannot fall for his tricks because he can clearly see through everything that he is hiding. He sees the dove in his hat, the dove's in the partition part in his magic box. The magician's next trick is to show the people that he can use magic to move his assistant from one of the boxes to another. The trick gets underway, but his assistant mistimed himself and emerges from the wrong place. The people immediately leave after they discover that he is fake. However, Kusuo stays back. After everyone is gone, Kusuo approaches the magician, who is already frustrated. The magician reveals that he was once an office worker, but he got laid off because he made a little blunder. After he lost his job, his wife also left him. He got kicked out of his house because he couldn't pay rent. His life went downhill so fast. Since everything disappeared from him so fast, the guy decides that it will be best for him if he becomes an illusionist. He had another job offer, but he turned it down and decided to take to the streets to become a street magician. He believed that he would make lots of money for his wife to come back, but he has now realized that he is wrong. Kusuo performs a magic trick for him. He pulled his assistant out of a bag, and this shocked the magician. He falls to his knees and asks Kusuo to be his master. Later on, Kusuo is watching the TV when he sees a live broadcast that Uryoku is about to perform. Uryoku is set to perform several difficult and dangerous stunts. Uryoku is bound and locked in a box. He has 5 minutes to escape the cage. The cage will be destroyed if he doesn't escape within 5 minutes. Kusuo wonders if he will be able to pull off the difficult trick. As time goes down, Kusuo starts to get worried if Uryoku will be able to escape the box. He has 2 minutes left and he appears to be struggling inside the box. Kusuo starts thinking of teleporting over there to save him. He is scared of getting caught on camera though. Unknown to Kusuo and everyone else, Uryoku is not inside the box. He has a device inside that makes it look like he is inside. Kusuo teleports into the box to try and save Uryoku. Several swords are pushed into the box and a crane picks up the box. The box is raised 30 meters into the air. The box is dropped from the air and it lands on the ground with a great impact. Kusuo remains unharmed inside the box though. The box is bathed in fire, but Kusuo manages to turn the insides into ice to protect himself. After this, a heavy-duty roller runs over the box. After all of this, the light shifts to the stage to show the audience that Uryoku is unscathed because he escaped from the box. On the other hand, Kusuo is also able to escape from the box without getting captured by any camera. The show was a complete success for Uryoku, and the crowd cheered in their seats. Up next, Shun enters a secret room in the school. The duo pretends to be members of a secret society, Black Jet Wings, that are put together to fight the Dark Reunion. The duo speaks some funny language to each other as their signature language. Shun talks about how he was once a member of the Dark Reunion, but he escaped when he found out that they wanted to destroy the world. There are still supposed to be other members present at the meeting, but the two are the only ones present. Shortly afterward, the duo concludes their meeting and Shun promises to come with Kusuo the next day. That night, the members of the Dark Reunion invade the room of their rival and put their emblem on the wall. The following morning, Kusuo and Shun get there to find the emblem. Shun is devastated, but Kusuo is relieved that he won't be involved in their funny schemes. Kusuo was actually in the room the night before, and he chose not to stop the Dark Reunion while they were doing their thing. In the next scene, Riki comes to Kusuo's house to invite him over to the beach. He tells Kusuo's mother that he is his friend. This excites Kusuo's mother because she has never seen Kusuo with any friends. Kusuo tries to tell his mother that Riki is not his friend, but his mother doesn't care. Kusuo doesn't want to go to the beach, but his mother forced him to go. Kusuo gets to the beach to find out that Hairo and Shun are also present. To avoid interactions, Kusuo goes deep into the water to lie down on the water floor. While lying down there, he sees Riki trying to save a drowning woman. Hairo and Shun jump in to save the woman, but the four of them start to drown. Riki holds the other three together as they drown. Kusuo slightly pushes his hand out of the water to push Riki's legs, and he pushes the four out of the water. Riki is termed the hero of the day. Getting back to school, Shun tells Kusuo that Riki is acting weird. Riki soon leaves school and the duo decides to follow him. Riki enters a flower shop to get flowers. The duo concludes that Riki is going to see a woman. He enters a restaurant to get an eat-out also. The duo decides to challenge him because Shun says Riki is into little girls. The duo finds out that they are wrong. Riki is actually going to visit his father's grave. His father died before he was born. He dies trying to save a girl who ran out onto the street. He was knocked down by a truck. Riki shows them a picture. and his friends find out that he resembles his father so much. Kusuo can see Ricky's father while they are at the graveyard. He doesn't want to believe that he actually saw Ricky's father. Kusuo doesn't believe in ghosts, so he just attributes what he saw as a reflection of light. Kusuo gets back home that night to receive a letter from an anonymous person. The person writes in the letter that he is aware that Kusuo is a ghost. The sender further states that he has no interest in becoming Kusuo's enemy. He only wants Kusuo as his master. He claims that he also has unique abilities. Kusuo decides to find out about the sender's identity. He uses his ability that grants him the power to know someone's identity through the memory that has been stored in an object to scan the letter. Kusuo calls this power psychometry. He wears a very thin glove around to prevent the power from activating anytime he touches an object. Shortly afterward, the sender shows up at Kusuo's house. He introduces himself as Reita Toritsuka. He reveals that he has the unique ability to see spirits. In short, he is a spirit medium. He wants Kusuo to be his master. He is 16 years old and he has had the powers from birth. He can interact with ghosts too. He initially found it hard to differentiate between a ghost and a normal person. Kusuo already thinks of a way to make the power useful. By speaking with the dead, he says Reita can bring peace to many people. Reita reveals that he learned of Kusuo from a ghost friend of his. Reita has sought Kusuo so he can teach him how to use psychic abilities. Kusuo can read his mind, and he is well aware that Reita will just use the power for his own perversions. As Reita is about to leave, Kusuo has forgotten to put on his glove, and he touches Reita. He immediately gains Reita's ability to see ghosts for a few seconds. The following day, Kusuo resumes school to find out that Reita has transferred to his school. Kusuo challenges Reita and asks him why he has chosen to come to his school. Reita is already popular among the girls on day 1 because he keeps telling them what their guardian spirit looks like. Reita keeps disturbing Kusuo to grant him psychic abilities so he can see what the girls are wearing. Several girls soon show up to ask Reita to tell them their guardian spirit. While he is busy attending to the girls, Shun shows up and plans to discredit Reita. He asks Reita to tell him what his guardian spirit looks like. Shun is expecting Reita to say his guardian spirit is a sealed monster or some kind of scary monster. Reita shocks him and says his guardian spirit is a chihuahua. This vexes Shun and reiterates that Reita is a fraud. Ricky shows up also to ask Reita to tell him about his own guardian spirit. Reita shocks everyone when he says Ricky's guardian spirit is a politician. Later on, Reita punches Ricky. Ricky is confused as to why Reita punched him. Reita tells Kusuo that he thought Ricky was a ghost. He then asks Kusuo to touch him without his gloves so he can understand. Kusuo touches him and he sees Ricky's father. Reita tells Kusuo that Ricky's father is his guardian spirit. In the next scene, Kusuo explains the reason why Hairo commands respect from his classmates. This is because he is very hardworking and nice. He doesn't mind helping people out even if it is not convenient. After school hours that day, Hairo tells Kusuo that the sports day is coming up. He needs to get everything in order before the day. He tells Kusuo that he has been working on the entry gate. Shun has been helping out, but he caught a cold. What is left to complete the gate are the arches connecting it. The duo gets to where the gate is to find out that it is ruined. Hairo says they need to fix the gate before they leave. They get to work, but Hairo needs to get some things to complete the repairs. He leaves to get the items, and Kusuo quickly uses his power to fix everything. Hairo is running late, so Kusuo uses his power to keep track of where he is. He sees Hairo carrying a heavy log on his back. While coming back to school, some students see him carrying the log and they decide to help out. They all come back to school together. They cut down the log and fix the gate in no time. Mind you, the sports day is still a month away. Up next, Kusuo is left home alone after his parents leave to attend a colleague's wedding ceremony. While cleaning the house, Kusuo sees a cockroach. He immediately teleports to Texas and plans on staying there. Apparently, he is scared of bugs because he cannot predict their actions. His mother has always been the one taking care of any bugs found in the house. Kusuo is still in Texas when he remembers that there's a package coming over. He decides to return home, avoid the cockroach, get the package, and get back to Texas. Kusuo arrives back home and opens the door, expecting to meet the delivery man. He is surprised to see Ricky at his door. This appears to be a solution. He tells Ricky to get rid of the roach for him, and Ricky gets on it immediately. Ricky is not afraid of bugs, and he can even take care of 100 bugs. Moments later, Ricky finds the bug and eliminates it. Later that night, Kusuo's parents arrive back home. They are impressed to find out that Kusuo has cleaned the house. In the next scene, Kusuo finds out that Chiyo is now interested in him again. She has chased away all the guys that were previously interested in her. This is another problem for Kusuo. Chiyo would have been with a boy in the second year known as Takeru. However, she doesn't like the fact that his feet stink. Kusuo reads Chiyo's mind to know all of these. He decides to fix the relationship between the duo. At school, Takeru and Chiyo go out together. They plan to go to the arcade. Kusuo is able to figure out everything Chiyo counts as an issue when it comes to Takeru. He realizes that Chiyo would be happy if Takeru could remember that it is their 3-month anniversary already. Kusuo uses his power to get the anniversary word out of Takeru, and this makes Chiyo very happy. However, Chiyo ends up dumping Takeru before the day ends. They go somewhere together and Takeru takes off his shoes. This is Chiyo's ultimate fear and she runs off. It is another day at school. Kusuo plans to leave very early because there is a show that he doesn't want to miss. However, trying to leave proves difficult because practically everyone is looking for him. They all want him for something or the other. Hairo wants to thank him for the other day, Shun wants to show him his new hideout, Kokomi wants to give him some papers, and so on. They are in every corner of the school and Kusuo doesn't want them to see him as he leaves the school. Kusuo goes to the restroom to plan his next move. He uses his power and finds out that Hairo is even standing at the gate and waiting for him to come out. They are spread out in the school, which means Kusuo is completely cornered. Kusuo decides to become invincible. However, he will become visible if he comes in physical contact with anyone. He needs to be cautious to prevent this from happening. His plan is about to be a success until he runs into Reita, who sees through him perfectly. Reita touches him to make him visible, and everyone immediately catches on to him. Everyone who has been looking for him immediately starts to tell him what they want from him. Up next is PK's Academy Sports Day. Kusuo planned on skipping the day, but his parents made sure he came. They even brought a camcorder with them. The leader for the Year 2 Class 1 is Haruo Sugiyama. The leader for Year 2 Class 2 is Yuji Ushima. For Year 2 Class 4, their leader is Kenji Tanihara. The Year 2 Class 5 leader is Ippei Matsuda. Class 3 is Kusuo's class, and we all know the leader. The games begin, and the first event of the day is the 100-meter dash. Kusuo is participating in the race, and he intentionally took third. Even with the third, his team is still impressed with him. Kusuo did not expect this. For the three-legged race, Sawakita is to represent the class. They need to carry someone in their arms during the race. Sawakita carries Kokomi in his arms, and he ends up winning too. As the race progresses, Ricky accidentally pulls one of the antennas on Kusuo's head, and he passes out immediately. His friends go into panic mode because they don't know what is going on. At the same moment, on the Wasa space station, the entire main system goes down and it has never happened before. At the same time also, a certain research lab goes into panic mode because their system encountered a problem too. Shortly afterward, Kusuo regains consciousness. It seems Ricky pushed the antenna back, and this is the reason Kusuo regained consciousness. Kusuo is worried, and he contemplates eliminating Ricky because he considers him dangerous. After that, Kusuo narrates why he fixed the antennas on his head. The left antenna is a regulation device that he's using to put his powers into check. Apparently, Kusuo is even more powerful than we think. This is the reason he has the device on his head to subdue his powers. He is thankful that the device was only removed for a few seconds, because he doesn't know what his unchecked powers would do if let loose. He needs to be more careful now. He also wants to stop participating in sports events to avoid another occurrence such as this. Moments later, his classmates come to check up on him. He is informed that it is time for the next event, which is Tug of War. It begins, and Kusuo ends up dragging the opposite team very easily. His class is declared the winner after this. Kusuo starts thinking of running home. On the total score on the table, Class 3 is not doing so well. They are still behind 2 classes on the total score. They have 2 more events to turn everything around. The next event on the list is the interclass beanbag toss. They plan to turn things around with this event. The game begins, and Kusuo uses his psychic powers to help his class. As they throw the beans to the basket, he helps them direct it into it, but he keeps it a bare minimum. After the results came out, Class 3 was already confident that they were going to win. It comes as a shock when the result shows that Class 4 dropped more beans into the basket than them. Class 4 had packed all the beans into a sack and dropped it into the basket. This is not considered cheating because it wasn't against the rules. They go through the points and they figure out that they can still win the game with the final event, as long as Class 4 takes the last position in the final event. The last event is the interclass relay. Kusuo will be the last person to collect the baton. Kusuo is very late to collect the baton, and he has no intention of taking the race seriously until one of the students mocks him as he runs by. Kusuo collected the baton and went past all the people in front of him. Kusuo wins the race for his class, but he falls face down upon getting to the finish line. His body is still not responding to him very well. Up next, Hairo informs his classmates that there will be an evacuation later in the day. Hairo lists out the safety precautions that should be taken to mind in case there is a fire hazard in the school or anywhere they find themselves. They are still in the middle of this when the broadcast system informs everyone that a fire has broken out in the first floor science room. Everyone is advised to evacuate. As the students evacuate the building, they soon come to a dead end, and they realize that the announcement was a drill. They need to think outside the box to escape from the building. They ended up breaking the shutter that had just been installed to gain access outside. The PE teacher could not believe that they destroyed the recently installed shutter to escape the building. You asked for it, bro, so don't complain. On the other hand, Kusuo feels confident that a fire hazard will never destroy the school as long as he is around. Days later, Kusuo is seen in the store contemplating which coffee jelly he should buy. He has a certain product that he usually gets before, but he wants to change his mind because he sees another. This new particular product costs 2,900 yen. However, the products that he usually gets cost 20 plus yen. Kusuo's allowance is 3,000 yen. He needs to weigh his options very well. He has the chance to buy plenty of coffee jelly, but he wants to pick quality this time around. However, he is worried if the overpriced jelly will be worth it or not. He finally makes his choice and goes for the expensive jelly. He leaves the store and hopes that the jelly is worth it, or else he will burn the factory. He is also scared of walking around with the jelly bean because he needs to protect it deliciously. He starts thinking of ways to get the jelly home. He can teleport the cup home, but he needs something of the same weight and value to teleport from home to replace the item he is sending over. Kusuo activates his teleportation power to send home the jelly, but ends up sending over a random ball flying around to an unknown location. He looks beside him to find Ricky playing baseball with a kid. The ball belongs to the kid. Kusuo doesn't initially care, but he hears that the ball belongs to the boy's late grandfather. Kusuo makes his way into a restroom to use his power to create an exact ball for the kid. He recreates it to detail, even with the autograph on it. He finds the boy and gives the ball to him. Later on, Kusuo receives a gift of coffee jelly from the boy. It is an appreciation for recovering his ball. At school, Kusuo learns from Ricky that there is a fortune-telling house in town. Apparently, everyone has been talking about the fortune-telling house recently. After school, Kusuo passes by the building. He sees people lined up outside waiting to be attended to. Surprisingly, he sees Shun among those on the line. Previously said he doesn't believe in prophets, but why is he here? Shun is just lying to himself that he wants to investigate the establishment. It is Shun's turn to enter. He's introduced to the fortune teller, Mikiko Clairvoyance. Meanwhile, Kusuo is inside the room with the duo, but he is making use of his power to avoid detection. Shun's body reaction easily gives him out to the fortune teller. He is easily able to deduce what is on Shun's mind. He talks about Shun wanting to make friends, and he says yes. The fortune teller tells Shun that he has a necklace that will grant him the ability to make over 100 friends. He presents him with a 30,000 yen necklace. Shun foolishly buys the necklace because he believes that it will make him friends with Kusuo. Meanwhile, Kusuo is still in the room and he sees everything that just happened. Kusuo wouldn't have interfered if the fortune teller had not deceived Shun by telling him he could be friends with him if he wore the necklace. Kusuo enters the room as the next customer. Seconds later, the fortune teller runs outside to find Shun. He returns his money immediately and runs off before further questioning. It seems Kusuo has threatened him. Kusuo wants Shun to make friends by himself instead of relying on fetish things to make him friends. Kusuo is about to leave the scene when he runs into Ricky. Shun finds out that Kusuo has been around all this while. The trio decides to visit a ramen shop. On their way to the shop, they run into Kokomi. She asks if she can come with them. Shun and Ricky waste no time in accepting Kokomi's offer. Kusuo doesn't feel comfortable with this because he sees Kokomi as one of the greatest threats to him. On the other hand, Kokomi is still wondering why she has not been able to get through to Ricky. She doesn't stress herself before boys run around her, but the case is entirely different with Kusuo. Kokomi is hell-bent on making Kusuo acknowledge her that very day. They soon arrive at the ramen shop that Ricky suggested. The place looks nasty and Kokomi starts thinking of a way to leave. She wants to lie that something came up and she needs to leave. Just then, Shun berates Ricky for bringing them to such a nasty place. Kokomi realizes that she won't be able to leave again because she needs to act like the calm, beautiful girl in this situation. She tells Shun not to worry because she is ready to eat at the shop. They are served the ramen, and it looks worse than she thought. She has no choice but to consume ramen because she is trying to prove that she is a perfect woman. Even Kusuo is shocked by this. In the next scene, Reita narrates how he has been faring with his power. He has been using the ghosts as his eyes and ears. He narrates that ghosts are nicer than people made them to be. He has once asked a ghost to help check the color of a girl's underclothes, but the ghost rejects the task because he sees it as an invasion of privacy. Some girls come over to Reita to ask for his help. Someone stole their gym clothes and they need it found. Reita gets on it immediately because he wants the girls to like him more. He does his investigation and finds out that a ghost has stolen it because of his naughty behavior. The ghost begs Reita not to return the clothes. The ghost promises to leak the exam questions for him. The offer is very tempting, but Reita refuses because he is well aware that Kusuo knows about everything happening in the school. He rejects, and in the process of retrieving the clothes, the girls find him. They immediately accuse him of being the culprit. They beat him up, collect their clothes, and leave. The culprit ghost tells Reita not to think too much about it, because he has helped Reita check out the girl's underclothing. This will serve as compensation for Reita. In the next scene, Kusuo wakes up and uses his precognition to power to find out that an explosion will occur later in the day. Kusuo gets out of bed to save the day. He checks the surroundings to analyze what will cause the explosion. He realizes that the explosion will be caused when a little girl slips on a rock. The rock will end up hitting a tanker driver. A scooter driver will see the girl in an unbecoming position, causing him to drive his bike into the tanker. In short, the small rock will be the cause of the explosion. He picks up the rock and disposes of it to avert the disaster. The rock hits Ricky in the head. Ricky takes the rock to school because he thinks it is a meteorite. It caused an explosion in the school. A boy steps on it and slips, which pours down gallons of gas. This would have caused an explosion in the school, but Kusuo gets there on time to save the day again. Up next, Kusuo is usually asked about his preference between dogs and cats. Kusuo doesn't like any because anytime he looks at them, all he sees are bones. His telepathy also allows him to speak with animals. He knows that cats are proud because they have the belief that the world revolves around them. Kusuo is walking through the neighborhood when he sees a cat stuck between two walls. The cat proudly communicates with Kusuo and asks him to get him out of his misery. Kusuo tells the cat to ask humbly, and he will help. The cat thinks Kusuo is bluffing because the cat knows for sure that regular humans would help out in an instant. Kusuo is about to leave, but the cat calls him back and asks him for help. Kusuo says he must beg before he helps him. The cat is also stubborn, and he is not ready to beg. He finally concurs when he realizes that Kusuo isn't joking with him. He begs for help before Kusuo finally agrees to help him. He gets the cat out of the wall without even touching the cat. After he is done, the cat thinks he will pet him, but Kusuo just picks up his bag and leaves. Later that night, the cat sneaks into Kusuo's house. He plans to make Kusuo's parents fall in love with him. This is all an attempt to spite Kusuo. However, Kusuo's mother is allergic to cats and she chases the cat away. It is the Christmas period. Kusuo doesn't really like Christmas because he counts it as a period where people just give out fake vibes. Everybody pretends to be happy while some are secretly battling something. They organize a feast at his house and Ricky is in attendance. Kusuo doesn't even participate in any of the day's activities. He didn't bother to eat either. He just sits in a corner while he observes what his family is doing. His father even acts like Santa and he comes bearing gifts. Kusuo is still not moved by everything. He remained that way till the day ended. Some days later, it is now the new year. Kusuo and his family visit the shrine for New Year's prayer. The shrine is crowded because there are so many people there to observe the New Year's prayer. Kusuo's father is busy praying for big funds. He also prays for his relationship and his family. Kusuo is just there doing his thing. All he prays for is a quiet new year. Shortly afterward, Shun arrives at the shrine. As usual, his prayer is for him to make friends. Shun met Kusuo's parents before going for his prayer session. His parents were excited that their son had a friend at school. After Shun is done praying, Hairo also shows up. He introduces himself to Kusuo's parents. He adds that their son is well-mannered and nice. Kusuo's parents are very impressed by this and they can't hide their excitement. They are more excited that Kusuo has friends. When Hairo goes for his prayer session, he asks for a formidable opponent who is also a good friend. Just then, Ricky shows up, and Hairo already counts Ricky as his friend and rival. It seems everyone's prayers are getting answered, but Kusuo's prayers are not yet answered. Ricky goes to the temple to pray. He prays that Kusuo gets a girlfriend. Just then, Kokomi arrives out of nowhere. It seems Ricky's prayer is about to be answered also. Kusuo's parents are very excited when they find out that Kokomi is also a friend of Kusuo. Kusuo is tired of the noise and he just walks away from them. Kokomi also says she has to leave. She didn't come there to pray. She only came to bring happiness to those who came to the shrine, she claims. After this, Kusuo's parents invite all of Kusuo's friends over to their house for dinner. During dinner, Kusuo's mother slips and says Kusuo has psychic powers. There is a moment of silence in the room because everyone is trying to figure out what she meant by psychic. Kusuo's father tries to make a dumb illustration of what they meant. Kusuo's friends are not ready to believe her, until Ricky says something to get everyone off the topic. Ricky just saved Kusuo because he managed to get the conversation to move on. After they are done eating and having fun, Kusuo's classmates get ready to leave. Kusuo's parents tell the group that they are free to come back anytime. As the group walks back home, Kokomi points out that she is still worried about what Kusuo's mother said. Kusuo is secretly following the group. He is able to find out that they have not been able to undo the damage done by his mother. After the group has separated, Kusuo decides to go after them one by one. He has a device that erases up to 1 minute of memory. Ricky is the first person he goes after. Soon afterward, the school resumed after the break. It turns out that Kusuo has swapped the memories of all of his classmates who were present at his house the day his mother spilled the beans. On the other hand, Ricky is acting like he knows something. He is closer to Kusuo than he was before. Rickus is the only problem Kusuo has to take care of now. Up next, Mr. Matsuzaki starts seizing some items that are not education-related from Kusuo's classmates, items like game consoles and others. Matsuzaki is their PE teacher and as well as their counselor. Most of the students hate him and are afraid of him. 3 of the students soon gather themselves and start devising a way to get back at Matsuzaki for being strict. They put a love letter inside Matsuzaki's locker. The contents of the letter tell Mr. Matt that there is someone who is madly in love with him. They ask him to come to a certain place and he does. Meanwhile, Kusuo is busy watching what the students are planning to do. Mr. Matt has been standing at the same spot for the past 2 hours, but the boys haven't made a move. After the students get tired, they finally decide to leave. They are about to leave when a girl shows up. Mr. Matt asks the girl if she is the one who wrote the letter, and she says yes. Unknown to Mr. Matt and the students watching, the girl is Kusuo in a female disguise. Apparently, Kusuo can change his form at will. He can even change into an animal. Mr. Matt tells the girl that he is sorry and he can't return the love feelings he has for him. He is a teacher and he stands for integrity. While they are discussing this, Mr. Matt discovers the boys and sends them home immediately. Before they leave, Mr. Matt returns the items he collected from them. Kusuo just solved another problem with his skills. Up next is the Chocolate Festival and Valentine's Day. Reita is hyped for the festival because he's excited that he will receive lots of chocolate. He even asks Kusuo to use his precognition and tell him how many chocolates he will get that day. Kusuo fakes using his power and tells him that he will be receiving 0 chocolates. They soon get to school, and the students start to exchange chocolates. Hairo receives lots of chocolates because he is loved by the girls. He has so much that he doesn't even know what to do with them. Shun finds a chocolate pouch on his desk, and he is already excited that a girl gave it to him. He runs to a private place to check it out, but soon finds out that it is a prank from Ricky. Kokomi soon arrives at school, and all the boys are gathered around her. They are expecting her to start distributing chocolates. She escapes to the restroom to catch a breather. She did bring chocolate with her, but it is for Kusuo. She tries telling herself that she is giving the chocolates to Kusuo as a thank you gift for the New Year dinner. We all know it's a lie because it is very evident that she has a crush on Kusuo even if she doesn't want to accept it. Kokomi realizes that giving the chocolate to Kusuo might spark a war among the boys because all of them are expecting chocolate from her. She opens the window and dumps the chocolate, but Kusuo is downstairs and he easily catches the chocolate with ease. Some days later, Kusuo is the only one home. He suddenly hears Ricky's voice, but he refuses to open the door. Just then, he sees Ricky standing by the window. This is the second floor. How did you get here? Kusuo asks. Kusuo is shocked when Ricky phases through the window to enter the room. It then dawns on Kusuo that the person he is looking at is not Ricky, but his dead father. The duo are exact copies of each other. Kusuo also doesn't understand why he is seeing a ghost. It's not like he has the ability to see one. He has only seen Ricky's father 2 times. The first time is when they visited the grave, and the second time, he saw him through Reita's spirit eyes. Ricky's father starts to pressure Kusuo that he should show him his abilities, but Kusuo just wants to be rid of the man. Kusuo teleports himself to a faraway island, but Ricky's father shows up again. Kusuo tries to get rid of Ricky's father, but his powers are useless against him. Kusuo finally takes Ricky's father to meet Reita. Since Ricky's father is Reita's guardian spirit, he needs him to explain why he is following him around. Reita is surprised that Kusuo can see him. Kusuo doesn't care because all he wants is a way to get rid of Ricky's father. Reita reveals that only ghosts can deal with ghosts. Kusuo decides to use his astral projection power. He separates his soul from his body, and he is able to touch Ricky's father. He punches Ricky's father into the soul void to get rid of him. Up next, Kusuo arrives home to find out that a salesman has come to sell different stuff for his mother, the things that she doesn't even need. She even received a call that her husband was arrested for groping women and they needed cash to bail him out. She sends the money, but her husband soon arrives, which proves that she has been phone scammed. Kusuo's father cannot get angry at his wife because she is just thinking about the welfare of her family. However, they devised a way to get their money back from the salesman. Kusuo's mother also goes into frenzy mode to chase away the salesman. He is never coming back after that, Kusuo says. Later on, Kusuo finds a ring that prevents him from using telepathy. He checks the properties of the ring and finds out that the ring is made from an element known as germanium. It seems Kusuo will not be able to use his telepathy when in contact with germanium. This is good news to Kusuo because he has always been flooded with thoughts of everyone in a 200-meter radius since he was a kid. He enjoys the quiet the ring can give him. It dawns on Kusuo that he has always wanted to visit the cinema since he was a kid. He couldn't go to the cinema because his ability allows him to get spoilers before even entering the cinema. He would have known all the important details of the movie without seeing it. He has never experienced the true feeling of a cinema. This ring is a perfect way for him to see the new movie that just got released. Kusuo gets to the cinema and secures a seat. He is shocked when he looks beside him and finds Kokomi there. What a coincidence! Kusuo has no way of knowing what Kokomi is thinking about because he has the ring on. He doesn't want to take it off because he has been waiting for the movie for so long. Kokomi tells him that she is there with someone. Suddenly, the said person shows up. To everyone's surprise, he is the star of the movie they are about to see. His name is Toru Mugami. The following day, Kokomi is in his room lamenting about yesterday's event. Apparently, she wasn't on a date with Toru. The people already assumed that she was on a date with him, and this includes Kusuo. She is worried about what Kusuo is thinking. She is still thinking of this when Toru shows up behind her. She shuns Toru and blames him for yesterday's events. We get to find out that Toru is the guy's stage name, while his real name is Makoto, and he is Kokomi's brother. Meanwhile, Kusuo's parents are watching a show starring Toru. His parents are also big fans of Toru. Minutes later, they hear the doorbell. Upon opening, they find out that the guest is Toru. Kusuo's parents are shocked to receive a star at their home. He then tells them the real reason he is at their house. He reveals that he is Kokomi's brother, and his sister is worried that he and Kokomi are a couple. This excites Kusuo's parents even more. They believe that Kokomi sees their son as someone she can be with. After Kusuo's parents leave, it is left for Kusuo and Toru to discuss. Toru's messed up personality shows up. He tells Kusuo to stay away from his sister. He says he has been the one taking care of his sister since they were kids, and he will be the one to marry her. This guy is really effed in the head. While he is saying all this, Kusuo uses his telepathy to call Kokomi to his house. Kokomi arrives and is surprised to see her brother. She immediately knows that Kusuo is now aware that she is worried about him. She tells her brother that she hates him and runs off. This destroys Toru because he just lost his sister. It is now time for the school exams. Kusuo usually uses his telepathy to cheat. However, he always makes sure to get just average in the exams and tests so he won't stand out. When it is time for the next test, the teacher tells the class a very important piece of information. Failure in 3 subjects means automatic repetition of the class. Everyone is worried about Ricky. Begins, and Kusuo is surprised when Ricky gets the answers right. He realizes that Ricky's father is helping him out. When the results came out, everyone was surprised to see that Ricky got 90th place among all 181 students. Kusuo gets the 91st spot, and he is pleased with what he got. That is exactly what he was aiming for. Ricky later revealed that the pencil he used belonged to his father. Later on, Kusuo is walking back home when he runs into Uryoku, drinking himself into a stupor. Ku is very happy when he sees Kusuo. He begs Kusuo to be his assistant in his coming magic show. He reveals that his assistant, Michael, got into an accident. The accident is life-threatening, and Michael will not be available for the show that night. He has asked all his friends for help, but they have all turned him down. He begs Kusuo to help him out because his ex-wife will be coming to watch the show. Uryoku shows Kusuo the magic sawing box he made because he couldn't afford to buy one. Kusuo uses his power to analyze the box, and he finds some error in the design. That night, the two appear on stage to perform their magic trick. Uryoku introduces Kusuo as his assistant. He tells them that he wants to perform a teleportation magic with his assistant. The first performance was a success. Just then, someone enters the hall, and Uryoku prays that the person is his ex-wife. The person opens the door, and it is revealed to be Ricky. Kusuo is put in shock when Uryoku gets excited when he sees Ricky. He also says Ricky is his wife. Uryoku narrates how he met his ex-wife, Midori. Uryoku's real name was Kuta before he started performing. He met her at a cafe where she was working. Her husband dies and she is left to raise her son alone. Uryoku falls in love with her and proposes to her. They end up together, but Uryoku soon loses his job. After he lost his job, Midori took her son and left. Uryoku has been trying to impress Midori ever since. After narrating this, we get a close look at Ricky. It turns out that Uryoku mistook Ricky for Midori because the duo resemble each other so much. Midori also joins them during the conversation, and Kusuo can see the resemblance. Midori is Ricky's mother. Uryoku asks Midori if she will give him another chance after she watches his performance, and she says yes. Moments later, the performance gets underway. Uryoku tells the audience that his assistant will get inside the box, and he will cut it with a chainsaw. He is going to split the boxes and later put it back to its original state. The trick will be to show them that Kusuo's body will still be in one piece after this. Kusuo is well aware that the box has no tricks to it, but he plans to use his powers to make the performance a success. Just then, Ricky stands up from the crowd and asks to be the man inside the box. Uryoku has no choice but to accept. Uryoku is also worried because Midori is watching. All he wants is for the trick to work. Uryoku couldn't bring himself to continue the trick and stopped. He is not ready to risk Ricky's life. The show is a failure and the audience leaves out of anger. After everyone has left, Midori finds Uryoku and tells him that she appreciates what he is doing. She promises to come see his show when it is a guaranteed success. Up next, Kusuo visits a cafe to enjoy a cup of coffee jelly. Suddenly, the waitress drops the cup upon seeing him. It turns out that the waitress is Kusuo's classmate and her name is Mera. She panics when she sees Kusuo because it is against the school rules for students to have jobs. Mera begs Kusuo not to expose her because her parents are poor and she is only trying to help. After leaving the cafe, Kusuo uses his power to change the school rules so that they can permit students to have part-time jobs. Up next, it is time for the physical test in the school. They are to go through several physical test routines like power throw, agility, and the like. Let us not forget that Hairo now considers Ricky as his formidable rival. Ricky manages to defeat Hairo at the power throw test, but Hairo believes that he will get leveled with Ricky at the agility test. Hairo manages to champion the grip test. Meanwhile, Kusuo is making sure that he maintains the average score. It is the last test of the day, which is the forward bend test. Hairo doesn't want to lose because it means an automatic win for Ricky. Hairo ends up winning the race, and he shakes hands with Ricky afterward. Up next, Kusuo realizes that the brown cat he saved previously is back around his house. The cat knows that Kusuo's father loves pets, and he plans to use that to get to Kusuo. His aim is to get Kusuo to pet him no matter what it takes. He already has his target's father in his palms. He just needs to play his cards right and he will get Kusuo also. On the other hand, Kusuo is also looking for ways to get rid of the cat. Shortly afterward, an ash-colored female cat comes through the neighborhood. Kusuo realizes that he can use the female cat to his advantage because the male cat is already interested in the female. Kusuo transforms into a cat and tells the brown cat that he is willing to help him get the love of his life. All he needs to do is mentor him and show him how things are done. The brown cat agrees and starts following Kusuo's instructions, but everything Kusuo tells him doesn't work out. The female cat wants to mate with Kusuo instead of the brown cat. As time progresses, Kusuo's father has even named the two cats. He names the brown cat Amp, while the female Puss. Kusuo cannot believe that his father just took in two cats. He is taking care of the cats outside the house because his wife is allergic. Later on, Kusuo narrates that he has stopped playing popular games because he gets the spoilers because of his telepathy. He has resorted to cheap and unpopular games. The storylines might not make sense, but he keeps playing them like that. He has no choice because he needs something to keep him busy when bored. After playing the game for some time, Kusuo is already used to the graphics and the gameplay. He is now enjoying the game with a smile on his face. After a long day playing the Olfana game, Kusuo finally finishes it. His game controller has developed a fault from intense pressing and squeezing. This is no problem for Kusuo because he can just easily fix the controller. Up next, Shun and his classmates are walking through the neighborhood when they run into Shun's mother. She is happy to see her son's friends and she invites them over to her house. They get to Shun's place and she takes them to Shun's room. It is a very spacious room and Ricky wastes no time before he starts jumping around the room. Shun's mother soon leaves the room to make tea for her guests. Fiki starts going through Shun's stuff and they come across a notebook that Shun does not want anybody to see. Ricky abandons the book and proceeds to scatter Shun's bookshelf. Shun's mother soon arrives with tea for the boys. She starts asking them about their plans after high school. Ricky says he plans to go to college. On the other hand, Kusuo says he has no plans at the moment. What he is concerned about is the beverage in front of him. This infuriates Shun's mother because she sees Kusuo as a bad influence. She takes her son to a private place and yells at him. She says she doesn't want Shun associating with Ricky and Kusuo. He should have friends equal to or above him, she says. It turns out that Shun's mother is a very strict person who wants her son to take his education seriously. Shun's mother later finds the fictional story Shun has always been cooking up in one of his notebooks. In the next scene, Reita tells Kusuo that he is interested in a girl in their class. Her name is Yoriko, but she keeps turning him down. He then reveals that he now has a new skill called the spirit channeling, which gives him the ability to allow ghosts to possess his body and do whatever they like. He is given access to a former star who also has his way around women. Reita approaches Yoriko in a charming way to confess his love to her. It is important to note that Reita is currently possessed by the star's ghost, to help him get the girl of his dreams. Everything was going according to plan until it suddenly fell off again, and Yoriko rejected him. Reita has another ghost who had a harem of women in his past life to possess him. He would have succeeded in wooing Yorika if he had not slipped and fallen on her. Yorika considers him a pervert and chases him away again. Later on, Kusuo is walking through the street when he sees a boy's balloon flying into the sky. Kusuo helps the boy, Yuta, out and saves the balloon. He flies to the sky and retrieves the balloon. He hands over the balloon and the boy immediately gets interested in Kusuo. He relates Kusuo to his favorite superhero, the Cyborg Man. Kusuo tries to tell the boy that he is not the Cyborg Man, but the boy is not ready to listen. Kusuo wants to leave, but the boy starts to cry because he wants Kusuo to stay with him and show him his powers. Kusuo is not ready to show the boy what he can, but he is soon forced to do so when a car almost runs over a girl. Kusuo uses his power to shift the car away from the girl to save both the girl and the occupants of the car. The boy is enjoying Kusuo's tricks and he wants more. Kusuo continues to impress the boy till they lose track of time. They soon find out that it is late already. It dawns on Yuta that he has not seen his mother since afternoon. He is about to start crying, but Kusuo offers to find his mother. He picks him up and flies him to where his mother is. Kusuo hides before the boy can point to him. Nonetheless, the boy tells his mother that he was saved by the Cyborg Man. Kusuo heaves a sigh of relief and proceeds home. He's about to enter his house when he sees the boy and his mother entering the house beside them. They just moved to the house. They are the Iridatsu family. Yuta recognizes Kusuo immediately, and he tells his mother that Kusuo is the Cyborg Man he was talking about. Kusuo is in some real mess here. One morning, Kusuo's father wakes up to find out that he is late for work. He works at a publishing company. They publish manga and the like. He begs his son to teleport him to work to avoid getting queried by his boss. Kusuo reluctantly accepts to take his father to work. He teleports him to the roof of the building where he works. He is about to leave, but his father forces him to follow him because he wants to introduce him to his co-workers. They enter the building and walk down the stairs to get to the chief editor's office. The editor, Onumatsu, is about to scold Kuniharu, but stops when Kuniharu says he was late because his son wanted to meet the editor-in-chief. Kuniharu says his son is a fan of Onimatsu's works. Onimatsu is impressed and forgets to scold Kuniharu. After this, Kuniharu takes his son around the office to show him the different editions of manga that they have. Kusuo soon gets bored and tells his father that he is leaving. His father doesn't want him to go, but there is really no way he can stop his son. At least, Kusuo got to see how his father's work is. It is the summer break, and Kusuo is busy enjoying his break all alone at home. Just then, Yuta and his mother arrive. Yuta's mother is going out, and she wants Yuta to stay with Kusuo. After his mother's departure, Yuta starts going through the house. He cannot believe that he is in the same house as the cyborg man. He brings out a movie about the cyborg man, Kusuo, to watch the movie with him. He plays the movie, but Kusuo doesn't concentrate on the movie. He focuses his attention on reading instead. Yuta is engrossed with the movie, and he enjoys the way the cyborg man defeats the Baron Cola. Moments later, Ricky suddenly appears in the house. Yuta gets scared because Ricky looks like Baron Cola from the movie. Baron Cola is a villain, and this scares Yuta. Ricky makes it worse when he scares the boy. The boy runs away from the house out of fear. Kusuo is infuriated that Ricky might have traumatized the boy. He punches Ricky out of his house. Up next, Kusuo decides to make his holiday more memorable. He makes his way to the festival ground. As he walks through the grounds, he realizes that his friends are on the grounds too. He manages to escape each of them as they go about their business. Kusuo continues to enjoy himself as he watches the events of the festival. He soon realizes that his wallet is gone. At the same time, several other people started to complain that their wallet was also missing. Kusuo feels embarrassed because the thief is very confident to steal from him. This is the first time someone will steal from him. Kusuo is infuriated, and he promises to make a culprit out of the thief. He uses his power to fish out the thief. The thief is still walking among the people with the dozens of wallets he has stolen when Kusuo uses his power to make the thief trip. He trips, and all the wallet he has stolen falls out. The thief manages to run away from the scene before being apprehended. However, he runs into Kusuo inside the woods. Kusuo is wearing a scary mask, and he makes sure to torment the thief before finally handing him over to the police. Days later, Kokomi is walking through the street when she runs into Chiyo. Coincidentally, the duo were both thinking about Kusuo before they saw each other. They enter a cafe to have a drink. They talk about the school trip to Okinawa that is coming up soon. The duo are already fantasizing about how to spend the trip with Kusuo. They ask each other if they have a crush. The duo reveals that they have crushes, but the duo refuses to reveal their crush's identity to each other. Unknown to them, the person in question is sitting right next to them. Ricky and Shun are also present. The group later discovers each other and they leave the cafe together. Both Chiyo and Kokomi still have no idea that they both love the same person. Preparations for the school trip are ongoing. They will be divided into groups, and each group will have 6 members. 6 members, which comprises 3 girls and 3 boys. Kusuo tells his friends to pick whoever they want for their group, and he is fine with anyone left. Chiyo and Kokomi find out that Kusuo doesn't have a group yet. They need to play their cards right to be in the same group as Kusuo. They plan to add Mera to their group to make them 3 girls. Mera is currently out working a part-time job. The duo is still making plans about this when Kokomki realizes that all the boys want her in their group. With this, she won't be able to freely speak her mind about the group she wants to join. Seeing the commotion happening among the boys, they resort to the lottery. They will now make their pairing using the lottery method. The boys are grouped and their names are put in the box. Kokomi is the first to come and pick. She picks a group, but it isn't Kusuo's group, and she is very sad. Kusuo, Shun, and Riki are together. Another girls' group picks their card, and they are disappointed that they will be in Riki's group. Kokomi uses the opportunity to say her group is willing to exchange. The people believe that he is doing it for Riki, but they don't know that she has a hidden agenda. She's glad that she finally found herself in Kusuo's group. Minutes later, someone comes in to inform them that their 3rd member, Mera, will not be able to come. The grouping changes immediately. They will now be grouped into 5. Each group will have 7 members. This is a piece of very bad news for Kokomi because she already played her cards to make sure she is in Kusuo's group. The night before the trip, Kusuo and his parents are home when Toru shows up to warn Kusuo to stay away from his sister. He knows that they are going on the trip together, but he doesn't want Kusuo near his sister. He accuses Kusuo of being a perv when he is the messed up one in the equation. To make matters worse, Makoto will be coming with them. He wants to keep an eye on his sister by himself. Kusuo has informed Makoto's manager also. His manager should be able to keep him in check. Kusuo doesn't want Makoto to ruin his plans because he is finally able to get them to change the pairings. The following day at the airport, the students' flight was suspended due to a typhoon. The students initially had no worries because it was scheduled for just a 10-minute delay. However, things turn sour when it happens that there might not be any change in their situation. Kokomi is already sad because she managed to get herself into Kusuo's group, and this is now happening. The students start to panic because they already have plans for the trip, and the typhoon is refusing to disappear. They ask Mr. Matt a critical question. They want to know if the trip will be postponed if the flight gets canceled. Matt adds salt to their wounds by telling them that the whole trip will be canceled if they cannot go that very day. The students' mood changes immediately. Kusuo cannot bear their suffering again and decides to help. He teleports to where the typhoon is and makes it disappear. There is joy among the students when they realize that they are now free to go. Shortly afterward, they get on the plane and the journey to Okinawa begins. Kusuo starts to use his power to attend to the problems encountered on the plane. Shun is sick and worried that his mother will find his secret book, but Kusuo teleports to his house to get the book. Shun suddenly finds the book in his jacket and he is relieved. Another student comes down with a stomach pain, and Kusuo reverts his body system by a day. He will have the same pain tomorrow. All these to make sure that nothing ruins the school trip and his plans. Kusuo takes a nap and has a prophetic dream that the plane will crash into the ocean. He wakes up and starts thinking of ways to avert the said problem. Suddenly, the plane loses altitude and starts to nosedive into the water. Out of nowhere, the plane gains altitude again. Unknown to them, Kusuo is the man under the plane. He decides to give the plane a lift because he is not ready to waste time looking for the cause of the problem. Soon afterward, they landed safely in Okinawa. Inside the bus, Kusuo could only hope that the 3-day trip would go as planned. Every one of them is excited to be on the trip. The bus makes a stop for the students to eat. They order plates of Okinawa soba for their enjoyment. After this, the students take a tour of the area. Some of them buy the pineapple fruit to have a feel of it. The men in the area are already gathering around Kokomi because of her beauty. Shun and his friends visit a viper versus mongoose fight show. However, they are disappointed when they find out the fight will not be happening live. They have to watch a 3-minute-long video. Shun also buys lots of souvenirs before leaving. They finally get to their hotel. The students pick out their rooms. Mr. Matt tells them to get ready for dinner. While they are bathing, 3 boys bring out a pair of long lenses to spy on the girls, but Kusuo blocks their vision. Kusuo finally goes outside the hotel to sit by the beach. He decides to take a nap because he is exhausted from everything he has been doing. Meanwhile, back home, Kusuo's parents are worried that he should not lose the device on his head. Kusuo is still sleeping when Kokomi arrives. Out of curiosity, she takes out the device on Kusuo's head. Later on, Reita wakes Kusuo up, panicking because the hotel is gone. Kusuo finds out that his device is gone and the hotel's disappearance could only be his doing. Kusuo realizes that he must have teleported the hotel somewhere else. He uses his powers to find where the hotel is. The hotel is at sea, which means he exchanged it with a sunken ship. One of the students wakes up to find out that they are on the sea. He tells the rest of the students about this. Before they can stand up from their bed to check, Kusuo has fixed the situation. Kusuo asks Reita if he is with the device, but he says no. Kusuo uses his powers on him to make sure that he is not lying. It dawns on Kusuo that the device is with Kokomi, and he would have teleported her away to someplace when she removed it. He uses his power to find Kokomi. She is in a forest and a bear is about to attack her. Kusuo gets there and eliminates the bear. Kokomi is shocked to see Kusuo and she starts wondering if she is in a dream. This is the perfect excuse for Kusuo because he didn't know how to convince Kokomi before. He just plays along and allows Kokomi to rest on his shoulders. Meanwhile, Kusuo has used his powers to make Reita look like Kokomi, so her friends will not panic and start looking for her. Kokomi believes that she is in a lucid dream, so Kusuo just has to play along. He teleports her to anywhere she wants to go. Kusuo needs to get the device so he can have control over his powers. He can't touch Kokomi the way he is because he might accidentally kill her. Kokomi keeps telling Kusuo what to do because she still thinks she is dreaming. Kusuo needs to play along to make sure that Kokomi doesn't suspect anything. After some tedious moments, Kusuo finally gets the device and he teleports Kokomi back to the hotel. He tells Reita not to ask him what happened because he has no intentions of talking about it. Kusuo decides to teleport to his house to get a good sleep. The following morning, his friends started asking him where he was, but he chose not to answer. Kokomi, on the other hand, is also scared to look at Kusuo because of the dream she had. She still wonders how Kusuo ended up in her dream. After they are done eating, the students get on the bus because they are visiting a pineapple farm and an aquarium. After leaving there, they will enjoy their afternoon at the beach. Chiyo, on the other hand, is looking for ways to get Kusuo to notice her. Kusuo knows this, and he can't just get himself to find a solution to the problem. He has to worry about Kokomi and still worry about Chiyo at the same time. After visiting the farm and aquarium, the students make their way to the Emerald Beach. The boys wait outside the girls' locker room to see Kokomi come out in her jumpsuit. They are all blown away by her beauty and everything. Kokomi is surprised that Kusuo still did not budge, even after the level of skin exposure. Chiyo also steps outside, but she doesn't receive the type of welcome that Kokomi did. Chiyo is even more disappointed that the boys notice Mera than her. She doesn't care though. All she wants is a compliment from Kusuo and she is good to go. She doesn't see Kusuo around and she proceeds to ask Riki. Riki tells her that Kusuo told him he was going somewhere. Chiyo gets sad that Kusuo didn't even bother to check her out. While she is sitting down and moping, Shun arrives to ask her if she can swim. Chiyo says no, but Shun still continues the conversation. His face starts to turn red as he does so, and Chiyo can absolutely see that Shun finds her cute. Just then, Kokomi shows up and Shun rolls backward 3 times. Chiyo cannot believe that Shun gave more reaction to Kokomi than he did to her. Shun later saves Kokomi from 2 guys who are harassing her. The boys get aggressive and Shun takes a step back. Chiyo arrives to defend Kokomi, but the boys trash talk her. They make fun of her that she is just jealous because she didn't see anyone hit on her. Shun gets angry and defends Chiyo. She punches one of the boys in the face and Kuso uses his power to make the punch very painful. Shun makes Chiyo very happy when he tells her that she is cute. Kusuo is impressed by Shun's behavior. As they prepare to conclude the school trip, Kusuo is making plans to get his hands on a coffee jelly which he saw the advert for. The jelly looks tasty, and Kusuo plans to eat it while he is alone. He needs to find a way to ditch his friends. He sets up different plans to make sure that his dumb friends and the girls do not interfere when he is going to get his coffee. Makoto even shows up, but Kusuo finds a way to dispose of him. Nothing must stop him from eating the red bean coffee jelly. He finally gets to the cafe where it is being sold. Kusuo receives the shock of his life when he sees his friends inside the cafe. Kusuo has no choice but to ask for the coffee jelly. The waiter tells him that they have sold out. Kusuo's friends are the ones who bought everything. However, Kusuo's friends all give him a share of their coffee jelly. He ended up getting a bigger portion than everyone else. Kusuo counts the mission as a success, and he wears a smile on his face. Sometime later, the teacher comes into the class to tell the students that they have a transfer student joining them. The guy enters the class and writes his name on the board. His name translates to Arin Kuboyasu. He appears to be a civil and law-abiding student. He also makes jokes, and the students are getting to like him already. Later on, Kusuo finds out about Arin's secret. Arin turns out to be a troublesome person, and that is the reason he was transferred away from his former school. He causes problems and fights a lot. Kusuo is determined to deal with him and have him transferred away if he causes any trouble for the academy. As Arin walks through the school, he takes a lot of restraint for him not to hit someone. He hits shoulders with a student, and almost hits the guy with a fire extinguisher before he controls himself. He soon runs into Riki. He sees Riki's stature, and he is tempted to fight already. However, the scene blows over again and nothing happens. Later on, Arin catches a bully threatening one of the students. He takes matters into his own hands and deals with the bully. Kusuo is a witness to everything because he has been following Arin around. A week has passed since Arin transferred to the school. He is relieved that no one has found out that he was a former delinquent. He wants to maintain this, but he is worried that he has no friends yet. He tries talking to Kusuo, but he shuns him off. Arin is approached by Shun, and the duo gets along immediately. Reita would have gotten along with him also, but Arin is not a perv like Reita. He is later approached by Kokomi too. He loses his senses when Kokomi speaks to him, because he has never seen someone as elegant as her. That same day, Arin got along with Hairo. He later circles back to Kusuo when he hears that Hairo couldn't defeat Kusuo as strong and bulky as he is. He gets more surprised when he realizes that all the students are trying to be Kusuo's friend. Turns out, he is the one pulling the strings after all. In the next scene, Shun and Kusuo accompany Riki to his father's grave. Kusuo still cannot understand the reason he is able to see Riki's father. They are in the middle of the visit when Midori also arrives. Shun is stunned because this is the first time he has seen Riki's mother. The resemblance is incomparable. Even with the resemblance, Midori still claims that her son resembles his father and not her. We get to know that Riki's father doesn't even have memories from his past life. He also cannot see his own reflection in the mirror. Because of this, he has no idea that Riki and Midori are related to him. Midori takes the boys to her house. Shun is happy to be in Riki's room. He starts going through Riki's things and he scatters his bookshelf too. Riki's father tells Kusuo that he likes Midori. He has no idea that they were originally married. Riki's father wishes that he could speak his mind to Midori. Kusuo decides to help. He finds a way to transfer his ghost into Riki. Riki's father only has a few seconds to tell Midori that he loves her. He finds Midori in the kitchen and tells her that he loves her. Midori is surprised as to why her son is suddenly acting weird. The ghost time is up, and Riki passes out on the floor. Up next, Kusuo goes to the cafe where Mera works to have his usual. He has become a regular at the cafe. However, he finds out that he is the only one inside the cafe at that moment. Mera tells him that they have lost their customers to the new establishment that just opened. Her boss has gone downhill since then because he has no idea what to do. Kusuo calls a meeting with Mera and her boss. Mera is to suggest ways that they can get their customers back. Mera suggests reducing the price of their products, but the manager is not ready to follow her suggestion. The manager then suggests something else. He says he is ready to pay Mera 30 yen if she is willing to do maid cafe, and she agrees. Kusuo doesn't want to help before, but he realizes that the cafe has been maintaining its quality ever since. Kusuo changed the close sign on the door to open to let customers know that the cafe is still running. Soon afterward, we see Shun acting like his favorite crime-solving character. He gets to school that day to find out that someone broke into the school during the night. The culprit stole the vase in the principal's office. Investigation to find the culprit begins, and Shun takes the lead. They start ruling out those who have a strong alibi. They even suspected Mr. Matt, but he was ruled out too. They see some cut wounds on Takahashi's hands, and he is promoted to the prime suspect immediately. After some pressure, Takahashi and Mr. Matt finally confesses that they are responsible. They broke the vase in the principal's office yesterday. They later came back to school to fix it. Takahashi got the cut on his hand while doing so. They apologize to the principal for their behavior. The school festival is coming up. Kusuo's class starts thinking of events to do. Hairo asks for suggestions, and the students keep throwing several suggestions to him. Some suggest that they do a cafe maid. Some suggest that they do the zombie event. One boy holds a funny rock in his hand, and when asked where he got it, he tells them that he found it in the schoolyard. Someone immediately suggests that they gather more of the unusual rock and make it an event. They all agree to do this. More suggestions keep coming in, but none is accepted. Kusuo thinks of something. He uses his power to bring down a meteorite into the class. The class is amazed by this. Someone then puts out the idea that they should display the meteorite. The theme for the exhibition will be the meteorite and the unusual rocks found in the schoolyard. Later on, Reita tells Kusuo that he is putting together a band for the festival. He tells Kusuo to join in, but he refuses. However, Kusuo later agrees to join after Reita is able to convince him. Reita introduces him to the rest of the band. The group comes together for a practice session. They sing so beautifully that each member of the group is even impressed. However, Kusuo left before they were done practicing. The band members say they don't need him, but Reita knows that Kusuo was the reason they were able to sing better. What he said is true. Kusuo used his telepathy powers to synchronize the sounds and voices of each person. They were in perfect sync, and the song came out beautifully. Kusuo is worried because the band is actually poor, but they can get better with practice. However, the band refuses to practice because they believe that they are already very good at the craft. They stayed away from practice till the day of the festival. The students start bringing the rocks that they have gathered for the exhibition. After this, the principal addresses the students. Kokomi is crowned the Miss PK for the year. Kusuo and his friends decide to take a walk through the school. They want to take a look at the several events that the other classes have going on. They have haunted houses, maid cafes, and so on. The trio decides to check out one of the haunted houses. Upon entering, the person who is supposed to scare the visitors faints when he sees Ricky. What a failure. However, another scare actor shows up and Shun falls for this. He passes out till they leave the haunted house. Kusuo goes to the restroom to wash his face. He takes off his glasses to wash his face. After he is done, he raises his head to find Ricky beside him. Ricky is wearing his glasses. This is a problem for Kusuo. He wears the glasses to protect people from a certain power of his. He turns people into stones when he looks at them directly. Ricky turns to stone when Kusuo looks at him. The glasses also turn into stone and break. The next thing Kusuo needs to do is find a solution to the problem at hand. He thinks about turning back time a day, but it won't bring him back. He realizes that the effect of the petrification will wear off after a day. The affected person will have no memory of what happened during that day. Shortly afterward, Kusuo's father arrives to give him his own glasses. Kusuo's father initially had no idea that Ricky was the stone he was looking at. He sees Ricky as a well-carved stone. Just then, Midori enters the room also. Kusuo and his father are already scared that Midori will panic when she sees that her son is stone. However, she too doesn't know that the stone is actually Ricky. She thinks it's just a carved stone. She even suggests that they put the stone on exhibition for the festival. Upon displaying Ricky, the principal gives Class 3 the best class attraction. They are all amazed at the details and qualities of the carving. Kusuo just needs to make sure that the statue doesn't break, or else that is the end for Ricky. While Yuta is playing with the statue, it almost falls, but Kusuo saves it by jumping under the statue to absorb the shock and impact. Days later, Ricky is back to his usual self. Ricky, Shun, and Kusuo are out again as usual. The trio are going to a party that Hairo invited them to. They seem to be having problems getting directions to where the party is being held. Hairo keeps speaking gibberish on the phone. The trio keeps walking around the town without getting a sense of direction. They keep this up till it's late. They finally get directed to a dark alley. They walk through the alley, and they soon come out in a place that looks like an old house. Upon entering, they are shocked to see that it is a modernized party room. Hairo hypes the boys, and the party gets underway. Kusuo is impressed with Ricky and Shun's persistence. One morning, Kokomi finds Makoto in her bed. This infuriates her and she stops talking to Makoto again. Later on, Makoto comes to find Kusuo to ask for his help. He still sounds very arrogant and doesn't even act like someone coming to beg for help. He tells Kusuo that her sister is not talking to her. He needs Kusuo to do something for him. A movie set is to happen in the neighborhood the next day. He doesn't want Kokomi to be seen by the industry. He is sure that they will scout her, and in no time, she will become a big actress. He wants to stop that. Kusuo agrees to help, not because he likes Makoto. Kusuo knows it will be bad if Kokomi's fans start gathering at the school gate anytime she's at school. Kusuo finds Kokomi in school and tells her that her brother has come to see him. Kusuo tells Kokomi not to go to the neighborhood. Kokomi immediately believes that Makoto is giving Kusuo issues. On the other hand, she is just happy that Kusuo talked to her. She then suggests an apology date. Kusuo uses his power and he realizes that Kokomi might faint if he says no. He agrees to the date. The duo goes to the mall street together, but they can't find a suitable restaurant. They finally see one, and they enter to eat. Men soon gather around Kokomi again. Kusuo soon realizes that the movie people are coming to the neighborhood. The urgency to leave the area arises, just as he is thinking of a way to get them out of there. The director parks outside the cafe. He wants to get something to drink or eat. Kusuo changes the sign to close to deter them. He then finds a way to get Kokomi out of the cafe. He can't head to the train station because the cast will be there. Kokomi realizes that Kusuo is conflicted. She suggests that they go to the bowling center together, and Kusuo has no choice but to accept. After this, they visit several other date places. Kusuo soon runs into Makoto in one of the malls. Makoto is angry that Kusuo is using the opportunity to go on a date with his sister. Kusuo quickly grabs Makoto and runs away from the scene. Makoto chases after him, but he uses his power to make himself and Kokomi invincible. Kokomi, on the other hand, is having the best time of her life because Kusuo is holding her hands. It is now December 24th, Christmas Eve. Kusuo is going around town dressed like Santa and distributing gifts. This is his father's responsibility, but he got injured. Kusuo didn't want his mother to take up the role, so he agreed to do it. He keeps visiting the houses to give them gifts. Some children have been waiting for Santa. Kusuo shows up at the right time. He visits all the houses in town by using his power to move around very quickly. At the last house, the boy wishes for Santa to bring his parents together. This is not possible for Santa, Kusuo says. However, Kusuo drops a gift for them and stops the duo from their fight. The Santa mission is a success for Kusuo. It is the new year. Everyone is busy exchanging gifts again. Kusuo is given his new year allowance. Kusuo decides to get a new TV because the one he is using has been faulty for quite some time. He keeps turning back time anytime he wants to use it. He realizes that it is high time he changes the TV. He visits an electronics store to get another TV. The salesperson takes Kusuo around the store to show him the big and expensive TVs that are available. He also shows him several TVs that are spectacular for gaming. After checking through the store, Kusuo points to a small TV that suits his choice. The salesman tries to swindle Kusuo concerning the price, but Kusuo is wiser than him. The salesman tries everything to try and get some extra cash from Kusuo, but he fails. The salesman finally gets a hold of Kusuo when he advertises a jelly maker to him. Kusuo could not resist the temptation, and he eventually buys the product. He even bought it at a price higher than the TV. When Kusuo and his friends resume school, everyone starts talking about what they did during the break. Reita tells Kusuo that he made so much money from ringing the shrine's bell for people who came to pray. On the other hand, Chiyo is worried. She has added small weight, and she is scared that Shun won't like her stature again. She finally conquers her fears when she realizes that the towel is also adding to the weight. Later on, Kokomi is seen ranting in front of her house. She has sent Kusuo a New Year letter, and she is worried that Kusuo hasn't sent one back. She keeps deceiving herself that Kusuo is having issues with the letter, and that is the reason he hasn't sent the letter. Meanwhile, Kusuo is in the distance. He's contemplating whether to give Kokomi the letter he has written or not. The letter contains details that will make Kokomi's opinion of him go down. One fateful morning, Shun is on his way to school when he sees Arin in the distance. He is about to approach him when he sees some crooks surround Arin. Shun thinks of getting help. Just then, Arin takes care of the crooks very easily. This shocks Shun, and he realizes that Arin has been hiding his dark side since he transferred to the school. He is still in doubt that Arin is a delinquent. Shun takes another route to school to avoid running into Arin. Upon getting to school, it is very evident that Shun is still shaken from what he saw. It gets worse when Arin tries talking to him. Shun starts shaking, and he even hides behind Ricky anytime Arin tries speaking to him. All he sees is a scary man trying to eliminate him. Ricky is surprised as to why Shun is acting weird. Later on, they enter the locker room to change their clothes in preparation for the physical exercise. Shun almost craps himself when he realizes that Arin is well built. He has been hiding his fantabulous body under clothes. This scares Shun even more. He starts believing that Arin is a delinquent. Ball game, Arin holds the bat in such a way that Shun starts to rethink his life decisions. After the game, Shun is seen taking care of a homeless dog. He starts to wonder if Arin is really a delinquent. After school, Arin and Kusuo are walking home when they run into some crooks. The crooks demand money from the duo. Shun initially wants to prove stubborn to the crooks, He calms down when their leaders show up with a staff. The leader demands that the duo drop their wallet or face the consequences. Shun quickly drops his wallet before something else happens. Kusuo also drops his wallet after so much pressure. He finds an escape route and starts running away because he doesn't want to engage the crooks. The guy starts mocking Kusuo, saying that he ran away and left his friend. Kusuo gets angry, and he is about to show what he is made of when Arin arrives at the scene. This is a relief for Kusuo because he will just leave Arin to deal with the crooks. Arin is clearly angry when he sees the situation that Shun is in. He wants to be a regular guy, but he can't stay back while his friend is in trouble. Arin fights the crooks and he knocks all of them out with ease. Shun is glad that Arin sees him as a friend and would do anything for him. Shun then tells Arin that he knows about his dark side. The duo shake hands on their way home. Days later, Shun, Riki, and Kusuo visit an arcade together. Kusuo remembers how his mother usually brought him to the arcade when he was younger. His favorite game was whack-a-mole. Shun and Riki decide to play a game of modernized ping pong. The duo starts the game fairly, but they end up playing an unfair game with each other. Shun later wins the game and Riki concedes defeat. Shun feels bad for winning because Riki accepts defeat without arguing. Days later, Shun, Kusuo, and Arin enter a convenience store to buy something. They are shocked to see Riki at the counter. He doesn't even know simple arithmetic. Who would hire a simpleton? This is the first question the trio asks each other. The manager of the establishment comes out and reveals that Riki saved him when he collapsed on the street. Riki has been working for him on a part-time basis since then. The manager shocks the trio when he fires Riki there and there. He says there have been lots of complaints from the customers. He thanks Riki for saving him again, but says he can't allow him to stay. After this, Riki tries getting another job, but he ends up getting fired again. Later on, Riki tells his friends that he needs money for his mom's birthday. He wants to get her something for her birthday because she has been the one struggling to keep things afloat. Shun and Arin decide that they will find a way to help Riki get a job. However, the duo ends up fumbling all the chances they get too. Kusuo cannot believe that the duo is even worse than Riki. Up next is the school's marathon. Kusuo already has plans to come out average after the race begins, and Hairo appears to be the favorite. He keeps going on ahead until Riki catches up with him. This scares Hairo because Riki went to get a drink and still caught up with him. He wonders if Riki is truly human. Hairo starts to use all of his strength to run, but Riki is just taking the race as fun. Even with all his struggles, Riki is still able to stay head-to-head with him. Meanwhile, there have been lots of dropouts. Kusuo uses his power to strengthen them because he doesn't want to end up in a position that will give him away. The race is about to come to an end. Riki would have won the race if Hairo had not tricked him into looking away. Hairo wins the race and Riki comes second. Kusuo also ends up in the 45th position, which is exactly the position he wants. On the other hand, the girls' marathon race is taking place in another location. Soon afterward, Kokomi shows up in front of Kusuo's house. She is there to receive cooking lessons from Kusuo's mother. She anxiously rings the bell and Yuta is the one to answer the door. The door is opened and Kokomi enters. She is very nervous because Kusuo's mother is treating her like she is her son's girlfriend. She tries to act casually, but Kusuo is well aware of everything that she is thinking about. Yuta is acting like a brat to Kokomi, and this worries Kokomi. However, Yuta acts a little friendly towards her when Kokomi reveals that she brought a cake for Yuta. Yuta eats the cake and enjoys it. After he is done eating it, he thanks Kokomi and calls her auntie. This blows Kokomi's mind away because she wasn't expecting it. She never expected someone to call her auntie. She plans to get her revenge on Yuta and make him appreciate her beauty. Surprisingly, Yuta later gets attached to Kokomi before she leaves for her house. In the next scene, Kusuo is seen at a cafe. After he is done taking what he ordered, he realizes that he is not with his wallet. He has different options for the problem at hand. He can call his parents for help, but he does not want to disturb them. He needs something of equal value if he is to teleport his wallet to him. He starts teleporting things away from his parents and his friends. All the things he ends up taking put them in trouble. He teleports his father's belt, which causes his trouser to fall. He is accused of being a pervert because of this. After successfully gathering materials in exchange for the money, Kusuo realizes that it would have been less troublesome for him if he had just washed plates for the cafe as payment for his meal. Kusuo is reading a book in the sitting room when his father comes to show him the bot he has been working on. Just then, the bot breaks apart and Kusuo's father thinks his son did it. Kusuo says he is not the culprit. It turns out that the culprit is Amp. He has come to check on the family because it's been a while. Kusuo uses his power to help fix the bot. Kuniharu immediately forgets about what Amp did. He rushes to bring him water and cat food. While he is gone, Kusuo grabs the cat and throws him outside. The cat tries to enter but fails. Kuniharu comes back to find the cat unconscious outside the house. He calls Kusuo's attention to this. Kusuo uses his power to scan the cat, and he realizes that he has a tiny piece of the bot's part inside of him. Kusuo shrinks himself and enters the body's intestine through the mouth to remove what is killing him. After he has saved the cat, Kusuo refuses to return to his usual size. His father sees it as an opportunity to step on him. He tries it but ends up falling over. While he is this size, he comes across a cockroach and almost craps his pants. The cat ends up saving him by killing the bug. Kusuo appreciates this, and he pets the cat for the first time. Up next, Kusuo comes across a third-year student, Kongu, who usually extorts him for money. Kongu is about to extort Kusuo again when Mr. Matt shows up and scolds him. He also tells Kongu to fix his haircut before he gets disciplined. He also threatens to fail him if he doesn't comply. Kongu says he was trying to get money from Kusuo to fix the haircut, but Mr. Matt is not ready to have that. Even with the way Kongu behaves, Matt still wants him to graduate. Later that day, Kusuo finds Kongu extorting people for money again. He fills his head with scary thoughts, so he will leave the people alone. After failing to get money, Kongu decides to use his own money to get a haircut. Kusuo is surprised that Kongu has his own money, but he prefers to collect from others. While in the saloon, Kusuo uses his power to make Kongu sleep off till the haircut is done. He wakes up to realize that he is now on low cut. He almost breaks the barber's head because of this. Mr. Matt later sees that Kongu has fixed his hair and he is impressed. He then tells him to fix his uniform or else he won't be allowed to graduate. Kusuo doesn't expect someone like Kongu to graduate because he is a scum. Kongu later sees Kusuo and he tries to harass him. Kusuo uses his power to show the guy how hard Mr. Matt is trying for him. He is always the one shielding him from the punishments he should have received. This gets to Kongu and he becomes a changed person afterward. In the next scene, Kusuo's class visits a karaoke bar to have a fun time. Everyone except Kusuo is blown away when Kokomi gets on stage to perform. Riki and Kusuo are picked to perform the next song, but Kusuo runs to the restroom to avoid the performance. He comes back later for the meal he ordered, and his classmates use the opportunity to get him. However, he still refuses to perform the song given to him. Sometime later, Kusuo and his parents take a long trip to visit his grandparents. They intentionally take the train to know the feel of it again. They are welcomed by their grandmother, Kumi, who is a kind woman. After this, we are introduced to Kusuo's grandfather, Kumagoru. He welcomes his son and grandson very coldly. He just continues with the newspaper that he is reading like there is no one around. Kusuo is already used to this because he knows the type of person he is. His grandparents have no idea that he has powers, and Kusuo has also decided to keep everything he learns about them as a secret to his parents too. Surprisingly, his grandpa is the kind of person who doesn't like to show his true affection in front of people. He actually misses his son's family so much, but would rather act like he doesn't care. Anytime they came to visit, he would stay by the wall to listen to what they were discussing while smiling. He wished that his son and his family could stay longer with them. He even has a picture of Kusuo in his pocket that he carries around. He overheard Grandma asking Kuniharu if they were going to stay a couple of days. Grandpa is already praying that he says yes, but Kuniharu says no. They have to leave the next day. Grandpa goes to the living room, pretending to have forgotten his newspaper. Grandma asks him if he wants his son to stay longer. Instead of him telling the truth, he acts like he doesn't care once again. He just tells them that they are free to do whatever they want. Later on, Kumagoru is seen dancing in his room about how happy he is because he will get to spend 3 days with his son and his family. Kumagoru is overhearing their discussion as usual when he hears them tell Kusuo to bring him tea or something. He is very happy that he will get to talk to his grandson. Kusuo opens the door to bring him tea, but it is very difficult for Kumagoru to open his mouth and tell his grandson how he feels. Kusuo leaves the room and the grandpa starts to regret being the way he is. Kusuo realizes that he regrets it and decides to come back inside. He understands that his grandpa has been that way his whole life. He enters the room, sits down, and they start staring at each other while they eat snacks together. Kusuo then remembers a memory of his grandfather taking him to the amusement park when he was younger. The following day, the family decides to go out and have a fun time. Kuniharu and the rest want to go to the hot spring, but Grandpa suggests that they should go to the amusement park instead. He wants to impress his grandson so he can come back often. They are shocked when they get there to find it empty and desolate. Kuniharu believes that the roller coaster and everything else is not safe to use, but his father is not ready to listen. Grandpa insists that they go on the roller coaster. After riding the first roller coaster, Kuniharu is scared to get on the Ferris wheels. This gives Grandpa and grandson the chance to be together on the Ferris wheel. He still acts like he doesn't care, but deep down, he is blushing so hard. He tries thinking of something to say to his grandson, but all he can come up with is a sigh. Kusuo uses his power to shake the wheel, and his grandpa still tries to save him during the hassle. This shows how much he cares. Soon afterward, it is time for Kuniharu and his family to return home. Grandpa will give them a ride back, but he actually wants them to stay longer. On their way to the train station, the car suddenly stops. Grandpa had previously siphoned the car's gas so that they would be forced to stay longer. However, Kusuo has seen through his plot, keg of gas in the trunk. The journey continues and Grandpa almost jumps for joy when they come across a huge debris that has fallen on the road. Kusuo's father starts thinking of telling Kusuo to use his powers. His wife reminds him that his parents have no idea that Kusuo has powers. His parents decide that they have no choice but to tell Grandpa and Grandma about Kusuo. The duo receives the shock of their lives when they are told of this, and Kusuo even demonstrates it in their presence. He removes the debris on the road without stress. Grandpa realizes that Kusuo must have been reading his thoughts all this while. Kusuo and his parents finally return to their place. Days later, Kusuo decides to wear the germanium ring to school. A popular game that he has been waiting for is getting released, and he is trying to avoid spoilers. After the school bell rings, Kusuo has a hard time escaping from the school premises. He is faced with different people that try to stop him, but he escapes all the hurdles thrown at him and makes it home. Up next, Reita takes the spirit channeling skill to another level by allowing different personalities of ghosts to take over his body, so he can be able to talk to girls anytime he wants. He changes personalities based on the mood and type of girl he wants to talk to. Because of this, he has been able to gather at least 13 girls who want to see a movie with him. On their way to the cinema, Rieta starts having issues with the ghosts. It seems the ghosts are all fighting for who will take over the body. They have had a taste of what life used to be and they want more. The ghosts start to take over his body and he has no way to stop them. Unknown to him, Kusuo is among the girls in his harem. He intentionally followed Reita because he knew something might happen. While the ghosts are taking over his body and causing him to say all kinds of things, the girls he amassed have run away and left him. Kusuo decides to help him. He expels the ghosts from his body so he can come back to his senses. It is a new term and all the clubs have started to recruit new members. Several clubs have approached Kusuo, but he turns all of them down. He is not ready to be affiliated with any club. Reita decides to create his own club, which he names the Occult Club. He basically created the club because of women. He wants to gather lots of women in the club and make them his own. He makes his way into a room where he meets another student, Arisu. She seems weird, but she is the definition of occult. She acts like a witch, who has the powers to cast spells and all. Shun shows up and shows interest in becoming a member of Rieta's club, but Reita refuses because he only wants girls. Chiyo decides to leave Reita's club because of this. She likes Shun so much that she can't be in a club where there is no Shun. Reita is left to be the only member of his club after everyone deserts him. However, he realizes that he is falling in love with Arisu already. One afternoon, Kusuo is clearly absent-minded because he can't wait to leave school that day. He wants to go home and watch TV. It's not that Kusuo doesn't like to study, but he is not interested that day. Just then, Mr. Matt enters to inform them that they will be taking a cooking lesson. This seems to catch Kusuo's attention because they will be teaching them how to make crepes. The lesson soon begins and each student gets down to business. Instructions are written on the board which they can follow. They make the dough and add salt and other ingredients. Kusuo is very sure that the rest of the class is doing rubbish. He is the only person getting it right out of all of them. Kusuo continues with what he is doing while the rest struggle. Even Ricky shows up to try it, but he does rubbish too. They make a dough and put it in the microwave. However, the microwave explodes because someone left a metal inside of it. They finally give up on their attempt to make a perfect crepe. Moments later, Ricky shows up with a perfectly well-prepared crepe. Kusuo is impressed with him because he knows that Ricky will always try to do things that he hasn't even done before. Soon afterward, Kusuo realizes that a group of people have been snooping around him recently. It turns out that the group is a fan club created because of Kokomi. They are men who take Kokomi's welfare very seriously. They even have a code that gives them the go-ahead to eliminate anyone who comes close to their so-called divine being. They worship Kokomi like she is another being entirely. They are coming after Kusuo because they see him as a threat. It doesn't take long before the fan club abducts Kusuo and takes him to their meeting place. They tell him the purpose of bringing him into their midst. They are fully aware that he is close to Kokomi and they want anything that will sabotage the happiness of their idol. They start debating on whether to eliminate him or not. Just then, they come across a picture where Kusuo and Kokomi are walking together. Kusuo is carrying Yuta in his hands, and the group believes that Kokomi has a son for Kusuo. Their number one rule is to make sure that Kokomi is happy. They realize that terminating Kusuo will bring sadness to Kusuo. The group decides to allow him to live because Kokomi's happiness matters the most. Later on, Kusuo and his friends are among the lucky winners of a store that is willing to give them a membership card. The card will allow them to get price cuts anytime they want to buy something. However, they need to answer a question from a particular manga before they are rewarded. Riki, Shun, and Kusuo start walking around town to get an answer to the question. While they are doing this, Kusuo runs into Makoto. Makoto has been looking for him since he went on a date with Kokomi. The conversation is interrupted when Shun arrives on the scene. He is a big fan of Toru. The duo soon starts talking about Shun's favorite character. Kusuo uses the opportunity to run away, and he soon figures out the answer to the question. He realizes that the answer to the question asked is 100. This is to commemorate the 100th episode of the anime. In the next scene, Kusuo is walking past a field when he gets hit in the head by a ball. The ball damages the regulation device in his head. The device has always been there to keep his powers at bay. Without the device, he has no way to regulate the amount of power he wants to use. If he wants to turn back time, he can easily turn the time back to 7 years in the past when he only wants to go back a day. His strength will be unparalleled. He can even destroy a building just by resting on it. He can wipe the earth if he is not careful enough. He managed to get to his yard and avoided casualties in the process of this. He is shocked to see Ricky in his yard. You can always be sure to find Ricky in the weirdest places possible. Ricky can see through Ricky's skeletal makeup because his X-ray vision is heightened. He manages to escape Ricky to avoid any problems. He enters the house and begs his father to fix the device. Kusuo is very desperate to get the device fixed. His father reminds him that he doesn't have the skills to fix the device or even create a new one to start with. The only person who can help the situation is Kusuo's big brother, Kusuke. His father reaches out to Kusuke, and he accepts to help. He is the one who made the device in the first place. Kusuke has a monitor in his room, which he uses to see what his family is up to. Soon afterward, Kusuo makes their way to London, where Kusuke is staying. Kusuo reveals that he and his brother don't like each other. Kusuo narrates why his brother doesn't like him. His brother was also exceptional when he was born. He was a genius, and he started learning advanced courses when he was still 2 years old. However, his reign went downhill when Kusuo was born. All attention was diverted towards Kusuo, and this hurt Kusuke. He grew older and left for the UK to study. He has been there since. However, it's all a fuss because Kusuke doesn't hate his little brother. Another problem arises when their father tells them that he has lost the bag where he kept the parts for the device. This is no problem for Kusuke because he can easily check through the city's security cameras to find the bag. Kusuke locates the bag and retrieves the parts. Without wasting any time, he fixes the device and hands it over to Kusuo. The device works perfectly, but Kusuo realizes that he can no longer read his brother's mind. Kusuke narrates his part of the story. He reveals that he would have been an exceptional person if Kusuo wasn't born. After Kusuo was born, he started overshadowing him. They play games together, and Kusuo never loses once. He created a device to weaken his powers, but Kusuo still continues to overshadow him. He left for Cambridge when he got tired. He recently got his master's degree. He is working on his PhD, and an idea hit him while doing so. The idea is to create a telepathy canceller, and this is the reason Kusuo cannot read his mind. It now makes two people that Kusuo cannot read their minds, his brother and Ricky. After this, their parents tell the duo to take care of each other because they want to go on a date. After their departure, Kusuke plays rock, paper, scissors with his brother, but Kusuo ends up winning again. There are now so many losses on the part of Kusuke. They get to Kusuke's hotel room, and Kusuo finds out that Shun and Ricky are in the opposite room. Kusuke offers to play a game of tag with Kusuo. He cannot use his powers because his friends will be with him. He can survive the game for 3 hours. He is considered the winner. Kusuke promises to treat Kusuo to the hotel's best tea if he wins. Kusuo goes to meet his friends in the other room. Kusuke tells the duo that he wants to play a game of tag with his little brother, and they are free to help him. They can ride the bus, take a cab, and any other means of transportation to try and escape him. The trio makes their way to the subway, and Kusuo uses the location to block Kusuke's sight. The trio are shocked when Kusuke shows up. They narrowly escape him. Kusuo quickly figures out that his brother has planted a tracking device he just fixed for him. Kusuo proves that he is better, as he uses all the tricks he knows to escape his brother till the timer runs down. Kusuke loses yet again. However, Kusuke isn't even ready to give up after losing over 4,000 games. He plans to keep coming until he defeats his brother. The following day, Kusuke tells his brother and friends that they can visit the art gallery in the city to have a feel for it. While inside the gallery, Shun keeps seeing things in the other way. He relates everything he sees to the Dark Reunion. Kusuo sees an art that he likes. It is very easy for him to teleport it because there is no value placed on it yet. Kusuo just stands there looking all quiet because he doesn't really understand the concept of art. It is summer, and different plans start flying in. Shun wants Kusuo to join them on a motorcycle trip, but Kusuo is not interested. Chiyo wants Kusuo to follow her to a research lab, but he refuses. Reita has a plan for his club, and he wants Kusuo to join, but Kusuo's answer remains the same. Hairo wants them to go to training camp, but Kusuo is not interested. He just wants a free summer break. Kokomi also finds Kusuo and tells him that they should go to an amusement park together. Kusuo knows he can't say no to Kokomi, and he ends up saying yes to all of the offers that have been brought forward to him before. He checks his calendar calendar and realizes that he has no free day for himself. The first invitation Kusuo honors is that of Reita and his club. They visit a temple together. Asides Reita, Chiyo, Arasu, and Shun are in attendance. They want to venture into the forest to explore. They pair themselves. Shun and Chiyo are together. Reita and Arisu are a pair. Kusuo is on his own for this. However, Chiyo changes the pairing and she decides to go with Reita. While walking through the forest, they encounter a boar in the forest. Reita doesn't even think twice before running away. Shun ends up saving Chiyo and Chiyo forgets all his feelings for Reita. Up next, Kusuo goes to the training camp with Hairo. Ricky is also in attendance. The coach watches Ricky play tennis, and he points out that the boy is a natural. His reflexes and agility are top-notch. The coach wants to see what Kusuo can do, so he asks him to play too. The coach puts Ricky and Kusuo together. They are to play against Hairo's team. Hairo tells the duo that they will be made president and vice president of the club if they manage to win. Kusui has no interest in becoming the vice president or the president. He decides that he will just play carefree so that they can lose. The match begins, and Ricky puts in all his best. Hairo and his team are already winning until Kusuo returns a very tricky and powerful serve. Everybody gathers around Kusuo because of this. They point out that he is very talented. The coach also affirms this. After this, Kusuo is to accompany Chiyo to the clinical trial. A clinical trial is a study conducted in order to confirm the safety and effectiveness of medicines before they are released to the public. Chiyo wants them to participate in the trial. The doctors explain the details of the trial to Kusuo, Riki, and Chiyo. They assure them that they are perfectly safe. They are given a tablet of meds to use. After using them, Mera and Ricky start feeling unusual changes in their body. Kusuo wants the duo to stop taking the meds because he has no idea what it would do to their body. On the 6th day, the doctors tell them that they have been giving them tablets that have no medicine in them. Been giving them the tablets to see the reaction in their body. Just then, Ricky and Chiyo enter the room. The duo looks very bulky and this shocks everyone. It turns out that the duo ate a mushroom they found in the forest. The effects will wear off later on, they are assured. The next thing on Kusuo's list is motorcycle training. The coach doesn't want Shun to get on the bike initially, but he sees the passion in his eyes and reconsiders. He starts to teach the group the traffic laws that they are to know. Everything that is against the law and should not be done when it comes to traffic is also taught to them. After some days, Arin, Shun, and Kusuo graduate from the driving school and are given licenses. Finally, it is the last day of the summer break. This is usually a depressing day for students. Kokomi already has plans to make the day great for Kusuo. Kusuo soon shows up with Yuta. Kokomi asks Yuta what he would like to do for the day. She's expecting him to say he wants to go to the amusement park. He disappoints Kokomi by telling her that he wants to watch a hero show. During the show, the villain kidnaps Kokomi as his hostage. The hero shows up but can't save her. Yuta begs Kusuo to save Kokomi. Others soon join to beg Kusuo. Kusuo wears a costume and gets on stage. He defeats the villain with one kick, and this cheers everyone up. Kokomi smiles and hugs Kusuo for saving her. Up next, the heir to the Seiko conglomerate, Seiko Matori, transfers to Kusuo's school. The students are surprised to see the son of a wealthy person transferring to their school. When Matori is introduced, he makes sure to tell the students that he doesn't care about them or the poor. There is a reason he transferred to the school. He won't have intentionally come to the filthy school, as he calls it. When asked why he came to the school, he reveals that he transferred to the school because of Kokomi. He saw her in the city and he looked her up. He wants Kokomi to be his bride. Everyone is shocked that Matori came to the school because of a woman. The disdain among the students is very evident, but they can't do anything to him because he has lots of bodyguards. Some students then tell him that Kokomi has a fan club that protects her from people like him. They receive the shock of their lives when they find out that most of the members of the club have collected money from Matori to start working for him. The marriage offer is also very tempting to Kokomi because this is what she has always wanted. Arin tries to attack Matori, but his bodyguard takes care of Arin without stress. Kokomi is tempted to accept Matori's offer, but she decides not to, because Matori has mocked her friends for being poverty-ridden. She's about to tell Matori that she has someone that she likes when Kusuo enters the room. Kusuo enters and he hears Kokomi telling the rich kid that she likes him. Kokomi doesn't want Kusuo to know that she likes him, and she starts telling Kusuo that she only said it to get the guy off her back. Kusuo knows the truth, so she doesn't even need to lie. Surprisingly, Matori accepts and leaves. This is a shock to Kokomi because she wasn't expecting Matori to give up that fast. Later that day, Kusuo arrives home to hear from his father that he is being transferred to Siberia of all places. Kusuo gets to school the next day to find out that his friend's parents have also been transferred to Siberia. This means that their families will have to move there. There is only one person that can pull such strings, and that is Matori. Arin has also been arrested for harassing Matori's bodyguard. People soon move to Matori's house to protest. Kusuo shows up in Matori's room wearing a mask. This scares him, and he tries to bribe Kusuo with money. Kusuo packs the money and throws it to the people protesting outside. Kusuo leaves that night and tells Matori to get a mountain of coffee jelly ready if he wants to bribe him. In the next scene, Kusuo brings his grandparents over via teleportation. The duo wants to come visit their children. Grandpa is still acting like he doesn't care. They go out for a fun time the next day, but Grandpa is left alone in the street. He is sad that he doesn't get to be with his grandchild. Ricky finds him where he is sitting. Shockingly, the duo gets along together. Kumagoru then tells Ricky that he wants to buy something for his grandchild but doesn't know what. Ricky takes him to a store to get something. Out of all the goods available, Kumagoru decides to buy glasses for his grandson. Upon getting home, he accidentally gives the glasses to his son instead of his grandson. He almost craps his pants when he finds out that his family has found out that he is caring. They tell him that they intentionally acted cold to him when they went out together. It is the period for Halloween. Shun is hyped for this, and he invites his friends over to his house for a Halloween party. Kusuo is the first to show up, and Shun is shocked to see him in regular clothes. He takes Kusuo inside to paint his face, and at least make him look like a costume. Hairo and Aren also show up in funny clothes that cannot be regarded as costumes. Shortly afterward, Ricky joins them. He also shows up in his regular clothes. Shun is frustrated because he can't believe that none of them has any idea what a costume is. Shun is clearly dressed as a vampire, which makes him look very different from the others. A little while later, children started coming to the house for trick and treat. The kids end up tricking them the most. A week later, Mitori finally leaves his room. He summons courage and approaches Ricky. He offers to buy Ricky food and he accepts. Mitori wants to try out his father's theory that money can buy anything. After eating very expensive food, Mitori asks Ricky if he's willing to be his lackey. Ricky doesn't answer and he increases the fee to 150 million yen. Ricky doesn't know what a lackey is, but he tells Mitori that he already has a friend of his own. After leaving the restaurant, Mitori continues to offer Ricky money. At some point, he collects the money without even knowing the value. Suddenly, Ricky sees a kid drowning and he throws the briefcase into the water for the kid to hold on to. Mitori is surprised that Ricky didn't waste time before ditching the money. Mitori finally understands that his father is wrong. There are people in life that money cannot buy. Meanwhile, Kusuo is present throughout the events. He was even the one who used his power to help the kid stay afloat, not the briefcase. Sometime later, Kusuo's parents show him a picture of Uryoku. He is now very popular with his act, and people love him. Just then, a letter arrives for Kusuo. Uryoku will be performing in Kusuo's area, and he wants him to come and watch the show. Kusuo honors the invitation and shows up at the show. Uryoku has changed his style, and he now adds a bit of comedy to his tricks. The audience loves this, and they all cheer for him. After the show, Uryoku thanks Kusuo for his help. He promises to continue working hard to become a great magician like Kusuo. On the other hand, Kusuo believes that Uryoku should have just gone into comedy full-time because it seems that he has a knack for it. Uryoku thanks Kusuo for coming to his show before he leaves. Up next, Chiyo shows up to school looking fat and enormous. She herself doesn't even seem to know that she is already fat. Mera and Kokomi tell her that she is fat and needs to watch her weight. Later on, Chiyo is doing her usual jogging when she runs past Kusuo. She decides to rest a little but ends up lying down lazily. She tries to get up but doesn't have the will. Kusuo decides to help out. He speaks to her through telepathy. He shows her an image of Shun. This is enough motivation for Chiyo. She is scared that Shun will no longer like her if he sees her like this. She starts doing sit-ups and other exercises non-stop. Shortly afterward, Chiyo slims down, and it is fair to say that she now has the strongest abs of all humans. Her love for Shun is so crazy that she is willing to do anything for him. It is time for the free period. This is one of the moments that Kusuo dreads the most. He gets approached by literally everyone during this period. They know he is free, so they come to him for anything. Later that day, Kusuo reads the minds of his friends, and he finds out that they are planning a surprise birthday for him. Shun reveals that he saw his mother in town some days back. She was the one who told him that Kusuo's birthday was tomorrow. Kusuo is in a dilemma because he has no idea how to react tomorrow. He just stands there rethinking his life choices. The worst of all is that tomorrow is not Kusuo's birthday. His birthday is still 3 months away. His father is the one celebrating his birthday tomorrow. Kusuo starts thinking of telling the group that they have got it all wrong. Each of them has gotten gifts already, and this makes it hard to even tell them. Kokomi and Chiyo have already chosen the cake design that they plan to bake. The group also has several video letters lying to be shown to Kusuo the next day. Principal recorded a video letter for him. Shun brings out the letter he has written for Kusuo. He reads out the letter and it gets everyone emotional. Kusuo finally decides to leave them on their own. He says they are free to do whatever they want. The following day, Kusuo's friends are shocked when they learn that he went home early. They decide to take the surprise to his house. They ring the bell and Kusuo opens. They wish him a happy birthday, and he looks very surprised and happy. Unknown to them, they are not talking to the real Kusuo. He has hypnotized them to see his father as him. His father is the one standing in front of them, while the real Kusuo is hiding behind them. Suddenly, Ricky shows up from behind and he lets out a surprise gasp when he sees 2 Kusuos. Kusuo acts fast and teleports a mirror to his front to deceive Ricky. Ricky believes that the Ricky he saw is the reflection of the one at the door. Kusuo is thankful that Ricky is actually stupid. Upon entering the house, Kusuo's father finally gets a grip on what is going on when the group is asking him questions pertaining to Kusuo. He has been wondering why Kusuo's classmates will surprise him on his birthday. He makes his way upstairs to tell Kusuo that he can drop the hypnosis. The duo exchanges and Kusuo goes to the living room to meet his friends and acts like he is the one who has been with them from the beginning. They open the cake they brought for him, but it is smashed. The atmosphere turns gloomy, but Kusuo doesn't want that, and he secretly uses his power to fix the cake. He tells them that the cake is okay and everyone is happy to hear this. They want to show him the video letters, but the recorder falls and breaks. To prevent the group from feeling bad, he quickly fixes it and tells them that it is working perfectly. To make his friends feel comfortable, Kusuo joins them for the birthday party. As usual, Kusuo gets up in the morning to prepare for school. His mother prepares breakfast for him. After eating, he takes his leave. Just then, his father rushes out of the room looking for him. He's late to work again, and he wants his son to teleport him to work. He almost faints when he hears that Kusuo has gone to work. Meanwhile, Kusuo just got to the door and he hears everything but decides to just ignore him. His father is already used to sleeping in late and asking his son to bail him out in the morning. On his way to school, Kusuo sees his friends, Shun, Riki, and the like. Also resuming school is the school's most popular girl, Kokomi. The boys go crazy for her as usual, but she can't seem to find Kusuo anywhere. She already has plans to make Kusuo act all crazy around her, but Kusuo is nowhere to be found. Kusuo soon gets to class to be surrounded by practically all of his classmates. They all have something to say to him. It is time for yet another Christmas. Kusuo decides to spend Christmas alone without anybody interfering in his business. The last 2 Christmas he has had was a disaster, and he just wants to avoid this. He went to the park to spend a nice time alone. While he's at the park, he is scouting his house to make sure that none of his friends come to visit. On the other hand, Shun and Riki are already planning to come visit him. Riki has bought a cake from Takashi. Riki and Shun run into Kokomi and her brother. Makoto doesn't want his sister to go anywhere without him. However, his identity of being a star is found out when a bird takes off his disguise. The people start to rush around him and he has no choice but to run away. Kokomi then joins Riki and Shun to visit Kusuo's house. Kusuo leaves the park and returns home thinking that he is safe. He opens his room door to find the trio waiting to wish him a happy Christmas. Kusuo has no choice but to return the gesture. It is now the new year and Kusuo is home alone because his parents have left home to have fun. He decides to watch the TV, but he soon finds his parents on TV confessing their love to each other. He changes the channel immediately. The next channel he switches to is the Who Wants to Be a Billionaire show. Riki is one of the contestants, but he simply fumbles it. I mean, who calls someone like Riki for this type of thing? Dying from embarrassment, Kusuo changes to the next channel again. However, he gives up on watching TV when he realizes that all the channels are featuring someone that he knows. The school resumes, and Reita comes begging for Kusuo's help. He wants to date a girl named Aiko, and he needs Kusuo's help to increase his favorability meter. Hairo finds the two talking, and he invites Reita to join him at the tennis club. Reita is reluctant to go, but he gets interested when he realizes that Aiko is practicing in the court beside them. He decides to play very well so he can impress his crush. Reita is bad at tennis, and he ends up using the spirit channeling to gain the abilities of a tennis pro player. He impresses everyone on the court with his swings and serves. Kusuo knows he is cheating, so he doesn't even mind him. After practice, he approaches Aiko to try and ask her out, but Aiko doesn't seem to be interested. Kusuo tells Reita that Aiko sees him as someone she cannot be with, so he has no chance in the said area. In the next scene, Kusuo gets to the cafe to find out that there are lots of customers on the line. He then uses his power to transform into a girl to hide his true identity. While he is waiting on the line, Chiyo, Mera, and Kokomi also arrive. Kusuo knows that his life is about to become a living hell. They soon enter the cafe, and the trio ends up sitting with him at the same table. When they ask her what her name is, Kusuo finds a fake name to use. He tells them that his name is Kuriko. While eating, Chiyo finds out that Kuriko eats just like Kusuo. She starts comparing the duo, and she even tells Kokomi to confess her feelings to Kuriko like she is Kusuo. This will help her boost her confidence. She's about to do so when Kuriko says she is leaving for the restroom. She accidentally knocks her bag over to reveal the contents of the bag. Kokomi sees a book with Kusuo's name written on it. Kusuo is scared that he has been found out. He heaves a sigh of relief when Kokomi asks if Kuriko is Kusuo's sister. He quickly says yes to avoid further suspicions. Up next, Kusuo's parents want to tell him about how they met, because it is their anniversary again. Kusuo has heard the story plenty of times, so he is already tired of hearing it. He retires to his room while his parents tell the story to themselves. His parents met 20 years ago. His father was a regular athletic high school student. He was walking home one day when he saw someone harassing a girl. He saved the girl, and the girl is none other than his wife. They are in the middle of this when Kusuke calls them. The duo is happy that their son is calling to greet them for their anniversary. However, he tells them that he is not calling because of their anniversary. He is calling to inform them that one of the parts he used in fixing Kusuo's regulation device is faulty. His parents tell him that there has been no problem so far, and he hangs up. Shortly afterward, Kusuo wakes up to find out that he has teleported his room away from his house. He just needs to find his house so that he can return to the room. He starts walking around town in an attempt to find his house. He runs into Ricky, but he seems particularly different. He looks around to find out that he didn't teleport his room away. He is actually in the past. He has gone to the day his father and mother met. The Ricky he is looking at is not actually Ricky, but Ricky's father. It turns out that the punk harassing her mother then was Ricky's late father. Kusuo has just interrupted a very crucial moment. He has stopped Ricky's father on his way, which means he won't get to harass his mother, and his father will have no reason to save her. If the duo doesn't meet, Kusuo will never be born. He starts to set a plan in motion to get Ricky's father to approach his mother so that his father can save her. He successfully does this while Kuniharu is having a drink in the cafe. Kurumi also enters the cafe and she is soon approached by Ricky's father. He continues to pressure Kurumi, but Kuniharu does nothing about it. Kusuo soon realizes that his father might have been lying when he said he saved Kurumi. He must have saved her by accident or something, he says. Kusuo needs to prevent his mother and Ricky's father from getting married at all costs. He is not ready to look like Ricky and his father. Kusuo takes matters into his own hands when he realizes that his cowardly father is not ready to do anything. He takes over the mind of Kuniharu's friend and has him push Kuniharu toward Ricky's father to knock him out. Kurumi falls in love with Kuniharu for saving her. Kusuo believes that everything is sorted out and it is time he goes back to the normal timeline. He activates his power to take him to 20 years later in the future, but he is shocked when he opens his window to find himself in the middle of a destroyed and abandoned city. You are now in a post-apocalyptic world, bro. Kusuo realizes that the butterfly effect must have taken place. Because there is a slight difference in the way his parents met, there were other changes to the way things turned out. However, Kusuo needs to know who or what destroyed the world. Just then, he hears a familiar voice behind him. It turns out to be Reita, but he looks totally different from the regular Reita that Kusuo knows. Nonetheless, Kusuo is going to need his help. Reita then tells him that World War III happened, and this is the aftermath of it. Kusuo wants to know what caused the World War. Reita explains that Kusuke caused World War III and Kusuo died so he couldn't stop him. Upon hearing this, Kusuo finds his brother's base and teleports there. His brother immediately figures out that the Kusuo he is looking at is from another timeline. He tells Kusuo that he didn't cause the war. The nations were simply fighting over something that he invented. He invented a time machine in an attempt to bring back his dead brother. However, the machine can only go back a day. Kusuke says he doesn't even need the machine again since his brother is already there with him. Kusuo then uses his brother's machine to go back a day. He jumps from that day to 20 years in the past, and then to the present. He is not sure if everything is normal, but it sure feels that way. In the next scene, Aaron gets invited to a standoff by the school's delinquents. They challenge him to a fight, and Aaron reluctantly defeats them. He is tired of the violence, but he keeps receiving 1v1 letters since they found out about his real identity. Kusuo can see how worried Aaron is because of this. Aaron checks through the letters he received and finds a love letter among them. He and Kusuo sit down to talk about the sender, Kumiko. Aaron is asked to meet at a specific location later that day. Aaron soon gets to the location, but Kusuo is also hiding around because he decided to follow him. Moments later, a group of delinquents arrive and tell Aaron that they are the ones who sent the letter. It was a ploy to lure him out. Aaron gets angry and wipes out the group in no time. After this display of power, no one dared cross Aaron for quite some time. Later on, Kusuo and his friends visit a store to get clothes. Kusuo debates whether to buy the clothes or not. He counts them as too expensive. They are in the middle of selecting clothes when Kokomi shows up at the same store. She tells Kusuo to pick out clothes for her to buy. Kusuo doesn't want to pick super attractive clothes, so he picks out funny-looking clothes for her. Kusuo later runs away from the store without buying his own clothes. Days later, a weather report comes in that the city is going to have the coldest day that day. The citizens are advised to keep themselves warm. Kusuo's father is very cold and he doesn't feel like going to work. His wife provides a solution by making a sweater for him. This is to keep him warm throughout the day. Kusuo soon gets ready for school. All the students are complaining of the cold as they walk to school. Kusuo and his friends get to class, and it appears to even be worse than they envisaged. The class is freezing cold. They turn on the heater to get a little warm. Ricky has 2 heat pads on the back of his uniform that some of the students are willing to purchase at high amounts. Kusuo, on the other hand, is not feeling the cold because of his pyrokinesis ability. The weather soon got so extreme that the students couldn't even cope. One of the academy's alumni, Peanut Ida, comes to visit. He gives one of the students his coat to keep her warm. The students are blown away by this gesture, and the cold within them starts to dissipate. Unknown to them, Kusuo is the reason the cold has disappeared. He uses his power to release warm air into the class from one of the broken windows. He is happy that he is able to do this very naturally to avoid suspicions. Up next, the teacher notices that Mitori is not in class. The teacher needs to give him some handouts for the class. She sends Kusuo to give Mitori the notes. Kusuo is sad that he is the one who got sent to Mitori's house. He would have teleported himself to Mitori's house, but he has been accompanied by his friends. They soon get to the house and his friends are shocked to see how enormous the mansion is. Mitori welcomes them at the gate. He is as arrogant as ever as he tells the boys that they will never have the life he is enjoying currently. He allows the boys to enter the mansion so they can have a glimpse at his luxurious life. Outside the mansion, they see various expensive cars. Mitori also shows them the classic statues that his father has gathered. Upon entering the house, the Mitori shows them a collection of paintings worth over 700 billion yen. He even has a pet tiger inside the house. After getting shown a lot of expensive stuff, the boys get bored and leave to get ramen. Mitori is devastated because he was expecting them to be in awe, but he gets disappointed. Because of this, Mitori is determined to show the boys something that will take their breath away. Days later, he is done with the redecoration of the mansion. He invites the boys over and tells them that they can't refuse. It is a compulsory invitation that they need to honor. The boys get to the mansion and they initially think they are at an amusement park because of the decorations that have been done to the mansion. Aaron is blown away because he knows Mitori's plan all along. Shun and Ricky, on the other hand, are shocked by the beauty of the compound. However, Aaron also falls into his trap when he sees the interior of the house. The house is glorious and has lots of fun things available. Aaron is blown away by Mitori's collection of motorbikes. He also has an arcade inside his house. Even Kusuo is caught in Mitori's trap when he is offered sweets and delicious coffee jelly. The group continued to have fun, and they forgot that they only wanted to spend 30 minutes. Later that night, the group decides that it is time to leave. Mitori wants them to acknowledge that he is greater than them, but the boys just thank him for the entertainment. He is shocked that the boys only see everything he has done for them as a source of entertainment. Shun even tells him that he is free to come visit them at their own house. They promise to entertain him also. In the next scene, the city experiences a heavy downpour of snow. School is canceled for the day. Kusuo's father is also exempted from work that day. Kusuo is happy that he will get the day off. Just then, Shun and Ricky arrive to invite Kusuo out to build a snowman. Kusuo doesn't want to follow them, but he gets a precognition that Ricky will be in trouble during their fun time. He decides to follow the duo to be able to prevent what is about to happen. While they are having fun, Kusuo gets a precognition of the future again, and this time around, Shun is the one in danger. Kusuo is just confident that he will be able to prevent any bad occurrences. He continues using his power to get rid of anything that might bring harm to the duo. After the duo is done having fun, Ricky and Shun decide to play dead. They both fall to the ground like dead ninjas. It dawns on Kusuo that nothing would have happened to the duo. It was just a vision of them playing dead. Up next, it is the school's graduation ceremony. Kusuo doesn't have any friends among the graduating students, so he has no one to miss. Shun was called upon to give a speech for the ceremony. He talks about the students who have helped him out during his hard times and wishes them good luck. The graduating students' representative, Kongu, also gives a touching speech that leaves the students emotional. It is a new school year. The boys are thrown into confusion when a fresh year student arrives. Her name is Imu, and she is super cute. The boys immediately forget about Kokomi and they start flocking around Imu. They want to know if she has a boyfriend. This is the question all the boys are asking. Imu herself is glad that the boys are swarming her. She plans to have everyone in the school under her control soon enough. The boys continue talking about how cute she is, and Ricky hears this. He then reminds them that the girl is not as cute as Kokomi. The boys immediately remember that there is a cute girl named Kokomi. There is division among the boys because some believe that Kokomi is cuter, while some believe that Imu is cuter. Shortly afterward, Imu lays her eyes on Kokomi, and she herself is shocked by Kokomi's beauty. She sees Kokomi as an angel. She doesn't realize that she's already complimenting her rival. The duo goes to the cafeteria together, and Imu accepts her defeat when she realizes that Kokomi gets more food than her because of her cuteness. The world does revolve around Kokomi, she says. Up next, Kusuo gets to school, and he gets pranked by Shun. Shun tells everyone that Kusuo is a psychic. After everyone has believed him, he tells them that he was just deceiving them because that day is April Fool's Day. He continues to pull pranks on all the students. Even Ricky fell for his prank. Mr. Matt finds him and scolds him for creating an atmosphere of deceit in the school. Later that day, Kusuo is reading under a tree when the breeze blows away his book. He uses his power to stop the book in midair and drops it to the floor. Shun is walking by and he sees the book freeze midair. He runs to tell everyone what he saw, but nobody is ready to believe him because he has lied to them severally that same day. Minutes later, Ricky is standing on the rooftop and Shun is downstairs. Ricky accidentally drops the camera he is holding and it falls towards Shun. Shun would have gotten hurt if Kusuo had not used his powers to stop the camera midair before slowly lowering it to the floor. Ricky and Shun are blown away by this, and they tell everyone else, but they are not ready to believe it. Ricky suggests that they throw the camera from the roof again so that they can see it. They do this and the camera falls to pieces. Shun realizes that no one believed him because he had earlier lied. He then determines not to lie to Riki again. One day, Kusuo's parents start sneezing as a result of an allergy. Kusuo's father tells him to help out, but he refuses, because he knows that he is immune to any infection that might be thrown at him. His body uses his pyrokinesis ability to burn away any form of virus that might want to infect him. He is confident that he is safe. Just then, Kusuo sneezes, and this has never happened before. He realizes that he is now suffering from the allergy too. He figures out that the allergy is not of viral origin. The allergy is caused by the inhaling of pollen. This is the reason his body has not dealt with it. His mother and father start to feel better, and they reveal that they took medicine to cool down the effect of the allergy. This is the first time Kusuo will be using medications, but he has no choice but to. He asked for the medicine and he used it also. Kusuo goes to school that day wearing a nose mask. Riki collects his medications from him, and Kusuo ends up sneezing again. His sneezes destroy things, so he needs to get off the school before someone notices him. Riki keeps stopping him from leaving the school because he wants to show Kusuo how he sneezes. Kusuo finally gets tired, and he finds a way to knock him out. He sneezes and breaks a wall, but he manages to fix it before anyone finds out. Next is the town's cleaning competition. Anyone who clears the most trash in the town is the winner of the competition. You get points on the number of trash you clear. Mitori decides to spice things up and says the winner of the competition will be rewarded with 1 million yen. The last winner of the competition, Trey, is also available for this year's competition. He tells Mitori that the people are cleaning the town for passion and not for monetary gain. Mitori is not ready to agree because he believes that people do things only for money. Kusuo and his friends make sure to gather lots of trash. However, they are shocked when the winner is announced. The winner of the competition is a family who found the corpse of Atsuchi Noko. Now in school, the girls are worried that there is a ghost in the music room. Reita decides to help out. He tells Kusuo to help him out in exterminating the said ghost. Later that night, they get to the music room to find out that there is truly a ghost in the music room. The ghost is a little girl who is attached to playing piano. She apologizes that the piano has been causing trouble for the students. The girl then decides to leave the room. The following day, Reita discovers that the piano has been moved away. When they find out about the piano, they learn that the girl's parents were the ones who donated the piano to the school. She passed away from an illness. Reita realizes why the girl is attracted to the piano. He then asks Kusuo to help move the piano to his house so the girl can come there. Imu is up with her drama again. She knows that she is considered the second cutest girl in school, but she is not ready to accept. She wants to do everything in her power to defeat Kokomi. She pays some guys to find out about Kokomi's weakness. She is given a report that there is a guy named Kusuo that Kokomi likes. She finds out that the duo is in the same class. She then approaches Kokomi and starts a discussion with her. She intentionally tells Kokomi that she is planning on getting a boyfriend. Kokomi asks her who she has in mind, and she says Kusuo. Immediately, she mentions Kusuo's name. Kokomi freezes up, and her reaction is pretty obvious. Imu is able to confirm that Kokomi really does like Kusuo. Kokomi tries to dissuade Imu from approaching Kusuo, but Imu insists that Kusuo is the person she wants. Imu is happy that she finally has Kokomi's weakness in her hands. Kokomi ran away because she couldn't take it again. Meanwhile, Kusuo is happy about what is happening. He knows that Imu will approach him. When she does, Kokomi will get jealous and lose interest in him. He knows that Imu will leave him shortly afterward too. Just as he predicted, Imu approaches him. Imu asks if he has a girlfriend, and Kusuo replies to her with head gestures. She is happy that Kusuo is single. However, Imu gets engrossed with Kusuo during the conversation. She has no plans to fall in love with him, but she is already falling in love with him. She cannot confess her feelings, and she runs away out of shyness. Kusuo's plan just got ruined. Soon afterward, Kurumi and Kuniharu's birthdays are drawing close. Kusuo can read their minds to figure out that the duo is thinking of what to get for each other. They have been married all these years, and they have always been close. The duo leaves home separately without telling each other that they are going to get presents for each other. Their birthdays are a day after each other. The duo each got each other a human-sized mannequin for their birthday last year. After their departure, Kusuo uses his power to find out what the duo is getting for each other. Kuniharu is planning to get his wife a large bunny as a present. However, he finds out that he has no money to buy the bunny. Kusuo is happy that his father will not be able to get the bunny. This will stop them from taking up all the space in the house. He checks his mother's side too. He sees his mother trying to get a display frame for her husband to place his figures. However, she's worried that there won't be space for the frame. Kusuo is happy that the duo has hit a deadlock. On the day of their birthdays, Kusuo is shocked to see her mother presenting her father with the display frame. His father also brings out the bunny he bought for her. He starts to wonder how the duo pulled it off. He then finds out that his mother moved her sewing equipment to her parents' side to create space. His father also sold his figures to have money for the bunny. Simply put, their gift for each other is practically useless. However, the feelings behind the gift are genuine, and that is what matters the most. Up next, Kusuo finds a lost hamster in the street. The hamster begs him to take him back to his owners because he has missed them already. Kusuo is initially reluctant to help, but he doesn't want the hamster to die in the hands of predators. The problem is that the hamster doesn't even have an idea where his house is. Kusuo cannot use his power to pinpoint the house unless he is able to get an image of it. The problem is solved when a cat comes around. The hamster praises the cat, and the cat agrees to show the hamster where his house is. They get to the house to find out that the owners have wasted no time in getting another hamster. The hamster is now stuck with Kusuo. Kusuo starts looking for suitable candidates who can take care of the animal. Hairo is the first to volunteer, but the hamster tells Kusuo that he can't stay with Hairo because he is just making him work out. He stayed with Shun too, but he finds it hard to sleep because of the fear that Shun might dissect him during the night. Chiyo's house is also not an option for the hamster because she puts the animal in tight clothes. Kokomi cannot accept the responsibility because she has a cat. The hamster finally decides to leave with Riki after he is treated with care at his house. Kusuo arrives home to find out that his brother has sent their parents a body massager. The chair shocks them while they are using it, and they decide to use the traditional way of massage. They want to massage Kusuo's body also, but find out that his body is so stiff and he is not feeling what they are even doing to him. They use a hammer, pan, and the like to try and get Kusuo to feel something, but he doesn't. His father even gets an impact rammer from the factory workers, but the result remains the same. Kusuo travels to a serene environment to try to rain his body with stones to try and get a feel of massage, but it's all to no avail. He returns home and accidentally sits down on the massage machine his brother sent to them. The massage machine shocks him, but he finds out that his body is no longer tense. He can't believe that the massage machine just worked for him. Kusuo finally gets his first massage at the age of 16. The next scene shows Kusuo's friends planning a camp trip. They ask Kusuo if he is interested in joining them on a bike trip, but he says no. Just then, Matori hears them talking about camping. He reveals that he is going on a boat cruise to a private island. The journey is set to be a blast. He promises to take Shun and the others with him as long as they can convince Kokomi to join them on the trip. They tell Kokomi about the trip, and she accepts immediately. She is already dreaming about the boat cruise and all. Mera and Chiyo are also added to the list of people who will join them on the trip. This is all good news to Matori because the more the girls the better. Kusuo figures out that the group already added him to the list of those going on the trip, and he has lost his chance to tell them that he is not interested. Shortly afterward, the group meets at a specific location to prepare for the journey. They get to where the ship is docked and they are shocked by the size of it. Matori has put everything in place to shock the group. Meanwhile, the ship's crew informs Matori that the ship is under maintenance and is not fit to sail. Matori has them rush the maintenance so they can depart quickly. Hours later, the ship sinks and the group is washed up on a deserted island. Let's go back to find out how it happened. Kusuo felt that something was wrong with the ship, but he went ahead to board it anyway. Minutes after they set sail, Shun gets seasick and he passes out from this. Mera starts eating all the food in the pantry and they have no choice but to tie her down. Just then, Kusuo is hit with a sudden headache and nausea. He has never felt like this before and he also knows that he is not seasick. However, he cannot explain what is wrong with him. He also passes out while struggling with his symptoms. Both Kusuo and Shun are both out now. Kokomi offered to take care of Kusuo after he passed out. She then removes his hairpin. Immediately she did this. The ship started shaking and it fell apart. Basically, Kusuo was the cause of the wreckage. Kusuo woke up underwater to find out that his friends were in the water, and he quickly saved them. He was not feeling too well, so he just teleported everyone to the nearest island. He also took the pantry just in case. However, Kusuo has made a mistake while saving them. The island they are on is not on the map, which means help is not coming for them. Everything is on him to figure out. We already know how everything happened. It is now left for Kusuo to get his friends off the island. He starts debating whether to teleport them off the island while they are sleeping. It is day 2 of the shipwreck, and the group is already getting scared that they are doomed. There has been no sign that help will come for them. Matori has also refused to eat because he is blaming himself for the wreck. The group tries to calm him down and tells him that the problem is not his fault. They look around to find out that there is no sign of Mera. Some of them start getting scared that Mera has been kidnapped or worse, killed during the night. Just then, there is a rustle in the bush nearby, and the group gets scared. A snake crawls out of the bush and faces the group. someone appears out of nowhere and terminates the snake with a spear. It turns out that their savior is Mera. She is now dressed like the jungle people, and she is even wielding a spear. They are surprised to see her looking so fierce. She brought mushrooms for the group to eat because she had consumed all the food they had. After delivering the mushrooms, she goes back into the forest. After she is gone, the group starts to freak out again because the mushroom will not be enough for them. Unknown to them, Kusuo has provided a solution to the food crisis. He has teleported to the store to buy canned foods and other things they can eat with his savings. He dumped them in the ocean so that they could wash ashore. Shortly afterward, the food supplies wash ashore and the group counts it as a miracle. They say the divine being is smiling upon them because of Kokomi. Nonetheless, the food is a temporary solution because they need to get off the island very soon. Just then, Ricky gives them an idea. He tells them that they can build a raft. The idea sounds good to Kusuo. He starts making the tools they need for the raft building to wash ashore. Without wasting time, the group gets down to building the raft. They need more manpower to complete the project, so Kokomi manages to convince Motori to join them. They also locate Mera, and they convince her to help out also. With Mera involved, the group's output increased significantly. Later that night, they are still on the project. That night, the group goes to sleep and Kusuo gets to work. He adds steel fiber to the raft to make it more firm. However, he makes the bar invincible so that they won't notice. While the group is asleep, we see Motori walking into the forest while looking very exhausted because he has refused to eat. Kusuo sees Motori walking into the forest. He knows that he must be pretty weak because he hasn't eaten for 2 days. However, Kusuo has restored his body's physiological composition by a day. This is the reason he is still standing. Motori comes back from the forest to return the cookies he found in the bush to them. He knows that they are trying to force him to eat, but he is not interested in eating. He tells them that he should be held responsible for the catastrophe that befell them. He knew the ship was in maintenance, but he insisted that they sail. Shun and Arin then tell him to stop blaming himself because they are to be blamed too. They are the ones who planned the journey and forced everyone else to come. Upon hearing this, Motori calms down and agrees to eat. Riki gives him a can of ramen that he just prepared. Motori reluctantly eats it and he tells the group that it tastes disgusting. The next morning, the team gets down to working on the raft again. They want to complete the raft that same day. While they are working on it, Kusuo already has the plan to keep teleporting them once they all get on the raft. Just then, Motori asks the group to sort out those that will go on the raft and those that will remain on the island. He explains himself better. He is worried that rescuers might get to the island and not find anybody. This is the reason some people need to go, while some need to stay on the island. The dilemma now remains who will stay and who will go. Postpone the sorting until later. The following day, the team decides that it is time to figure out who will stay and who will go. After so much argument, they are able to successfully split themselves into 4 each. The raft group and the island group. Riki, Mera, Motori, and Arin will be the ones to go with the raft. The island group is Kusuo, Kokomi, Shun, and Chiyo. They are able to come up with this without any further argument. The only thing left is for them to finish up the raft. However, Kusuo knows that he needs to do something about the situation. Shortly afterward, they finish up the raft. Shun gives a speech and thanks the group for their togetherness. He knows that it takes teamwork before they can finish up the raft, and he commends them for it. Riki later makes fun of him because of the speech. That night, Kusuo puts one of his plans in motion. The next morning, the raft group is about to start going when search and rescue people arrive. They are surprised to see them. It turns out that Kusuo has made a replica of the island at a place that is easily accessible to rescuers. He moved the group to the replica island he made while they were sleeping. The students are taken aboard the boat to be rescued. Kusuo refuses to get on the boat and he decides to find his own way off the island. Upon getting back to school, the rest of the students start to disturb Kusuo and the rest. They want to know how they managed to survive the island. All the media outlets in the town have the reports covered, but Motori made sure that the names and identities of the students were not published. Kusuo cannot wait for everything to blow over. He is soon approached by the school's press club. The president of the club, Monaco, wants to know how things went on the island, but Kusuo is not ready to talk to her. After so much pressure, Kusuo realizes that the lady will keep following him around and he decides to give in. He conducts the interview with her so that she would leave him be. After giving them the accounts of what happened on the island, Monaco complains that Kusuo's account is not engaging. She also complains that what he told her is very little compared to what Shun told her. Kusuo says Shun is lying, but Monaco is not ready to have that. She then asks Kusuo to give her an inappropriate picture of Kokomi. She is very sure that Kusuo must have taken one while they were on the island, but Kusuo says he has no such picture. When the press release came out, they reported that Kusuo had an indecent picture of Kokomi. All the boys start to swarm Kusuo, demanding that he release the picture he has with him. Just then, Kokomi shows up and tells the students that she is very sure that Kusuo doesn't have any inappropriate pictures of her because she didn't ease herself throughout the 4 days that they were there. Later that day, the press club decides to keep adding fuel to the fire. Monako wears a blue wig so she can resemble Kokomi. She bends down like she is taking a poop and asks her assistant to take the picture. Kusuo knows of their plan, and he is ready for them. Monako is surprised when the students start trash-talking the press club. She checks the board to realize that it is not the edited picture that is there. It is a picture of her pretending to take a poop. Kusuo is able to defeat the club with this. It is the last day of the summer break, and Kusuo's friends come to his house to copy his assignments. They have not done their own assignment. Kusuo is their last hope. They bribe him with sweet things, and he allows them. While they are copying him, Kusuo finds out that he hasn't done his picture gallery assignment. It would have been easy for him to do it if his friends were not there. However, his friends decide that they will help him out with the picture gallery assignment. Kusuo doesn't want them to stay, so he finds a way to make them go away without suspicion. He shows them pictures of where he is having fun, and the group decides to have fun on the last of their summer break too. It is the start of the second semester, and the class is getting another transfer student. She introduces herself to the class as Mikoto, but they can call her Miko. She tells them that she has fortune-telling skills. Chiyo decides to check her out, and she asks her to tell her what her relationship will be after school. After making some funny mixture, she tells Chiyo what she should prepare for. She tells Chiyo that she will be unlucky when it comes to relationships. She will always end up with losers. She also adds that she should give up on the person she has a crush on currently. Chiyo hears all of these and runs away tearfully. Kusuo uses his power to read Miko's mind, and he finds out that she is actually telling the truth. She has real powers, but Kusuo doesn't know the extent of her powers. He is also worried that she might find out about him. After this, Mera shows up and asks Miko to help her to find her missing father. Miko makes a pencil ritual and tells Mera what her result is. She reveals that Mera's father is in Puerto Rico, and that's all she can tell her because she is not feeling too well. This surprises Kusuo because even he needs clues before he can successfully pinpoint someone's location. Miko then tells the class that she can see the future through her crystal glass. Kusuo makes up his mind to destroy the crystal before she uses it on her. Miko further adds that she has the ability to see someone's aura, but she can't at the moment. All of these spell trouble for Kusuo. Kusuo almost passes out when Miko says she is there to look for her soulmate. Everything she describes points directly to Kusuo, even his initials, which is KS. The following day, Miko's ability to see aura returns to her. However, Kusuo is scared that he will be found out, and he decides to skip school that day. Meanwhile, he's using his abilities to check out everything going on in the school. He can see the way Miko is accurately seeing everyone's aura. Miko checks the whole class to find her soulmate, but she is unsuccessful. Kusuo decides to go to her and try to sort things out, and also tell her not to expose him. He appears behind her, and at that same moment, Miko loses her ability to see people's aura again. Kusuo is then able to deduce what is happening. His aura is so big that it overshadows everything in the 200-meter range. As long as Miko doesn't see him from afar, he is safe and his identity will remain a secret. In the next scene, Kusuo is returning home when he sees 2 bullies picking on a kid. He interferes, and it turns out that the person being bullied is Yuta. He tries talking to Yuta, but he just runs away. Kusuo talks to Yuta's mother about this, and she reveals that Yuta doesn't behave like before again. He is now used to himself. He doesn't even watch his favorite show about the cyborg man anymore. Yuta's mother tells Kusuo to try and speak with him. Later on, Kusuo sees the same kids picking on Yuta. Kusuo transforms himself into a kid to deal with the bullies. The bullies run away, and Kusuo tries talking to Yuta, but he just pushes his hand away. He tells Kusuo the reason he has been fighting the bullies. He reveals that he wants to train and be strong like the cyborg man. Just then, the bullies come back again to take revenge. They reveal that Yuta is the first to pick on them. He was the one who kicked them from behind one day. Kusuo realizes that Yuta is in the wrong, and he asks him to apologize. Yuta initially refuses, but Kusuo shows him an image of the cyborg man. Cyborg man tells Yuta to apologize to the boys, and he does so. The boys forgive him, and the matter is forgotten. Kusuo runs away before Yuta figures out who he is. Up next, Kusuo finds out that the world is stuck in a time loop. A particular event will keep repeating itself. This has been happening since the time he went back to the future. The solution to the time loop is for him to clear his mind and everything will return to normal. He does this and the first loop occurrence clears off. However, another one recurs again and Kusuo tries to clear his mind, but it's not working. After the 16,000 loops, Kusuo is exhausted. He is finally able to use his power without thinking, and the time loop disappears. Kokomi narrates that she was born 16 years ago. She has been cute from birth. This has always made people love her and even give her things for free. She has lots of guys interested in her, but she's only interested in one person, and that is Kusuo. The reason she has fallen for him is his ability to resist her charms. Kokomi is determined to make Kusuo acknowledge her one of these days. Kokomi runs into Kusuo in the street, but he escapes before she can approach him. Kokomi then employs the services of other men to search for Kusuo. Kokomi's search team tried their best, but they were not able to locate Kusuo. This is because he easily used his powers to evade them. Up next, Miko starts going around the school to investigate those with the KS initials. She wants to find her soulmate by all means. All the people she has interviewed have come back negative. She is also interviewing those with the SK initials because it might go both ways. She is about to get to Kusuo in the class, but he manages to escape her. Miko makes the roof her base. Chiyo comes to see her about her hunt for her soulmate. Meanwhile, Kusuo is on the same roof, but he is on a taller place that he can't be seen. He is happy that Miko will not be able to figure out who he is, as long as his aura is hidden. Just then, Chiyo gives Miko the idea that her soulmate's aura might be too big, and this is why she can't see him. Chiyo just ruined Kusuo's plans. Chiyo then suggests that they watch all the students while they are leaving school to figure out the exact person they are looking for. Kusuo intentionally walks to the school gate so that they can see him. He knows that the gate is still in the radius needed. After he has successfully fooled them, he teleports back to the roof. Later that night, Chiyo and Miko decide to call the mission off. Kusuo is happy that they have given up and left. Immediately he does so, Miko is able to see Chiyo's aura, and she sees the mark of death on her. Before they can react to this, Chiyo accidentally falls off the roof. Miko manages to grab her, but she can't hold on and she loses her grip. Chiyo is about to hit the ground when Kusuo arrives and saves her. He makes eye contact with Miko, and he is well aware that he has been found out. Kusuo takes Chiyo to the roof, and he tells Miko who he is and the things he can do. He tells Miko to keep it a secret. She is about to ask him for a favor when Chiyo wakes up. Kusuo quickly runs away to avoid detection. Miko tells Chiyo that she was dreaming and nothing happened to her. Chiyo believes her because the railing she fell off from has been fixed. The duo starts walking home together. Miko is happy that her soulmate is someone amazing and special. Another problem is that the death sign has not left Chiyo. This means Miko and Kusuo will have to keep an eye on her till the sign disappears. Shortly afterward, Chiyo collapses from abdominal pain, but Kusuo uses his power to save her. Another disaster that would have claimed Chiyo's life is a truck accident, but he manages to save her yet again. After this, the death sign on her body disappears. Miko is totally in love with Kusuo after everything he managed to pull up. In the next scene, Kusuo and his friends decide to attend a circus show. The show is being organized by Uryoku. They get there and Riki asks him if he has quit magic, but he says no. He has just decided to venture into different branches of stage performance. Uryoku gets excited when he learns that Midori will be attending too. He needs to make the show a success because of her. Moments later, Kusuo hears a struggle backstage, and he runs there to investigate. He gets there to find out that the lion for the show went rogue and tried to attack Uryoku. Thankfully, the lion was tied down so it couldn't get Uryoku. However, Uryoku slips and falls over while trying to escape the lion. He has injured his head and will no longer be able to perform. Uryoku then chooses Kusuo as his replacement. The whole backstage crew cheers Kusuo on, and he has no choice but to just accept the role. Moments later, he gets on stage dressed like a clown. He delivers a good performance that has the audience on the edge of their seats. After the performance, he's about to get off stage when he sees a vision that there will be an accident in the venue. He decides to stay back and try to prevent the catastrophe. To prevent the disaster, Kusuo starts to take on the difficult acts of the show. He is trying to make sure that no one except him carries out any of the dangerous stunts. The next stunt on the list is to tame the lion. The lion looks very fierce, but Kusuo uses his power to threaten him and get the lion to be submissive. Uryoku also shows up because he is now feeling better. He thanks Kusuo for replacing him. They are in the middle of this when the ceiling caves in. Thankfully, no one is fatally injured. Kusuo is sad that he wasn't able to prevent the disaster from happening. Now in school, Kokomi is absent. Rumors start flying around that she has caught a cold, and that is the reason she can't come to school. The boys are gloomy because Kokomi is not around to cheer them up. More rumors keep coming up that she needs to undergo surgery to eliminate the illness she has. Kusuo then uses his power to calm the students down. He travels down to Kokomi's house to find her brother all over her. He knocks him out. Kokomi is truly suffering from a cold, but the only thing she needs is plenty of rest. Today, the school gets cheered up again because Kokomi is back. Up next, Kumaguru is hyped for the visit of his daughter and his grandson. He has been waiting for their call. The call finally comes in, and Kumaguru is expecting to hear Kusuo's voice. He is disappointed to hear Kuniharu's voice on the phone. He hangs up and puts down the receiver. Just then, another call comes. When Grandpa picks up the call, he hears a boy's voice. The voice identifies himself as Kusuo. He says he needs help because he wasted 4 million yen on a game. Grandpa to bring the money to a specific location. Grandpa quickly gathers all the funds he has and drives off without telling anybody. Shortly afterward, Kurumi, Kuniharu, and Kusuo arrive at Grandpa and Grandma's house. Grandma tells the family that Kumagoru drove off in a hurry. Because of this, Kusuo teleports into his grandpa's car. Grandpa realizes that it was a scam. Kumagoru gets angry and he wants revenge on the culprit. Kusuo says he will follow him too. Upon getting to the station, the phone rings and the scammer tells Grandpa to leave the money by the phone stand. Kusuo uses his power to trace the origin of the call. He teleports to where the call is coming from, only to find out that the telephone is being operated remotely. Kusuo starts to get worried because he knows one person who is capable of playing around with him. Just then, Kusuke appears from behind. Kusuo already knows that his brother is the culprit. Grandpa is angry, but Kusuke apologizes and he lets him off the hook immediately. This is the kind of person their grandpa is. He is very soft on his grandsons. The trio returns home. His father and mother are surprised to see him. Believe Kusuke came to visit them out of his own will. Kumagoru is also very happy that his 2 grandsons are now with him. While having dinner, Kusuke tells the family that he is done with school, and this is the reason he has come back home. He brought a pair of sandals for his grandma. He also brought a gift for his grandpa. His mother reminds them that there is a festival that night. The family says they will go to the festival. They will have Grandpa drive them to the festival. Upon hearing this, Kumagoru almost loses himself out of excitement. He couldn't believe that he would get to spend quality time with his grandsons. Another issue then comes up. The car will not be able to contain all of them because they are 6. This means only 5 people can go, while 1 person will stay at home. Just then, Kusuke suggests that Kumagoru will lap Kusuo just like they did when they were younger. Grandpa gets very excited from this and his blood pressure rises too much, which causes him to faint. They lay him on the bed so he can rest while the rest of them go to the festival. They get to the festival grounds and they start having fun. Kusuo and Kusuke separate themselves to challenge each other as usual. Kusuke is putting on his telepathy canceller as usual to prevent his brother from getting a read on him. They play a shooting game and Kusuke tries everything possible, but Kusuo ends up winning again. Kusuke then reminds Kusuo that he will now be living with them again. Kusuo cannot believe what he is hearing. This means he will have to start competing with Kusuke every single day. After the festival, Kusuo and his parents return to their place while Kusuke stays with his grandparents. One day, a delivery comes for Kusuke. Kuniharu begs Kusuo to teleport the package to their grandparents' house and give it to Kusuke. Kusuo gets to the place to find out that everything in the area has changed. The old people living in the rural area are now into tech. There are robots moving around the settlement. Kusuo is shocked by this. Kusuo finds his brother in his laboratory. Kusuke confesses that everything Kusuo is looking at is his handwork. Kusuke says he has been using modern technology to help the people of the area. This has made life easier for them. Kusuo doesn't believe that his brother is doing this out of the goodwill of his heart. He thinks his brother has something he is hiding. Just then, their grandpa enters the room and Kusuo is extremely shocked to see his grandpa putting on a power suit. With the suit on, grandpa can run faster, lift heavy things, and even jump higher. Kusuo goes to another section of the laboratory to find their grandmother inside a capsule. She comes out of the capsule and she is now younger. Kusuke has developed a machine to make people younger. Kusuo just assumes that his brother doesn't have anything bad in store. He gives him the package that was sent for him and is about to leave when Kumagoru's hands accidentally hit the package and spill the book inside of it. Kusuo and his grandparents take a look at the book. They are shocked to find out that Kusuke is actually using the settlement as an experiment to develop a weapon that will eliminate Kusuo. Kusuke grabs the power suit and runs out of there before they grab him. Up next, Kusuo meets with Miko in a cafe per her request. While they are there, Reita walks by and sees the duo. He assumes that they are on a date until Miko shuts him up. Kusuo introduces the duo to each other. Kusuo tells them that they both have powers. When Reita hears that Miko is into fortune telling, he begs her to take him in as her disciple. The duo quickly forms an association of psychics. They name it the PK Academy Psychic Trio. A cockroach flies by and their fear of bugs is exposed. It turns out that they have great powers, but they are scared of bugs. Up next, Kusuo arrives at school to find Shun screaming about something. Shun tells Kusuo that Riki just got a love letter from a first-year student, Maki. Kusuo collects the letter to examine it because he believes that the writer is not serious. The writer must have lost a bet or something before he could have written such a letter, Kusuo says. He uses his ability to check if the writer is serious about what is inside the letter. Kusuo is shocked to find out that the writer is absolutely serious with the details of the letter. I believe that a girl will sit down and say, "Choose Riki out of all the boys in the school." Shun asks Riki if he did anything at the baseball game to get Maki's attention. Riki says no. However, Riki starts to mention the heroic things he did while at the game. He was the one who won the game for the team. He also saved the girl from a ball that would have hit her. It dawns on Shun and Kusuo why Maki has fallen in love with Riki. This is because of everything he did at the game. Riki Ricky shocks the two when he tells them that he is not interested in the girl. Shun scolds him and says he has no option but to be picky. Most girls don't find him attractive, so he needs to stay with the one that just acknowledged him. Shun tells him to date the girl to avoid losing at the end. Aren and Hairo arrive, and they are also surprised to see that Ricky got a love letter. Aren collects the letter to take a good look at it. Aren then figures out that the letter is not that of love. Maki was actually inviting Ricky. She is trying to recruit him because she is the manager of the baseball team. Everyone is shocked and they go silent after the revelation. Later on, the class goes to the gym for their judo lesson. Mr. Matt tells them the rules of judo. They are to divide themselves into pairs for the lesson. After dividing themselves, the numbers are odd. Kusuo is the only one left without a partner. Mr. Matt tells Kusuo that he will partner with him since he has no partner. Mr. Matt and Kusuo are the first to show the class how it is done. Mr. Matt holds Kusuo's arm and throws him to the floor. He then tells Kusuo to do the same. Kusuo manages to dial down his power to the minimum and throws Matt to the floor. Matt is shocked that Kusuo was able to throw him to the floor. He is sure that he made the perfect stance and Kusuo shouldn't have been able to. Matt has an internal monologue in his head and says Kusuo is strong and might be the leading figure in the future when it comes to judo. Matt then tells Hairo and Kusuo to fight each other. Kusuo is very careful in drawing attention to himself. He decides not to put effort into the fight and gives Hairo an easy win. However, Hairo knows that Kusuo didn't perform well and berates him. They start the fight again. Kusuo uses his power to make it look like he is putting in effort. Hairo ends up winning the match again, and this time, he is satisfied. Matt immediately changes his decision and says Hairo will be the best in the future. Just then, Ricky defeats Hairo. Matt then considers Ricky as the leading figure in the future. Kusuo heaves a sigh of relief because all the attention centered on him is now gone. It is the new year again. Kokomi comes to Kusuo's house for a visit. She pushes the intercom, but Kusuo silences it because he wants Kusuo to give up and go home. His plan gets ruined when Kusuke arrives at the door. Kusuo has no choice but to open the door for his brother and Kokomi. Kokomi asks after Kusuo's little sister. His family quickly catches on that Kusuo must have transformed into a girl in front of Kokomi once. They quickly cover for Kusuo and tell Kokomi that Kuriko is not at home. Kokomi then tells Kusuo that she wants them to visit the shrine together. The two are supposed to go alone, but Kusuke decides to follow them. Kusuo decides to follow Kokomi to the shrine because she doesn't want her around his brother. However, Kusuke still decides to follow them. On their way to the shrine, Kokomi uses her beautiful girl power to make the boys in the vicinity drag Kusuke away. With this, Kusuo and Kokomi are left alone. Later on, Kusuo checks the results board. As usual, he is on the average spot. However, he notices that there is a guy, Satu, who has always stayed beside him when it comes to results. This has occurred several times. He decides to look into the guy. He checks out Satu to find out that he is living an ordinary life. His friends are even ordinary, and he does everything on average. Kusuo is jealous of him because the guy is living the kind of life he wants, a life away from the spotlight or attention. Kusuo hopes that the guy continues to lead an ordinary life as he has always done. Shortly afterward, Kusuo visits the library to read some novels. Instead of reading the novels, he ends up using his psychometry power to know everything that happened in the novel from the first edition to the last. Later on, Kusuo starts using his powers to fill Imu's dream with things that will make her hate him, but it doesn't seem to be working. Imu gets to school, and she is still looking for Kusuo. Kusuo already has Kokomi on his plate, which is enough trouble already. He can't add Imu to that now. He manages to dodge Imu for some hours, but Imu intercepts him at the locker room. She is planning to ask Kusuo if he loves her. She's about to do so when Miko shows up and holds Kusuo's hands. Imu cannot believe her eyes. This is another of Kusuo's plans. He wants Imu to believe that he and Miko are together so she can give up. Imu asks Miko if she is Kusuo's girlfriend, and she says yes. Surprisingly, Imu doesn't feel heartbroken when she hears this. This allows her to realize that she doesn't actually like Kusuo. She is just running after him because Kokomi is her rival. Just as she is making this conclusion, Kokomi enters the room. Kusuo and Miko quickly hide inside one of the lockers to prevent Kokomi from seeing them. Imu then asks Kokomi if she likes Kusuo, and she says yes. This impresses Imu, and she tells Kokomi that she loves her. What a sudden turn of events. Imu decides to become Kokomi's friend because she wants her happiness. The duo is a deadly combo as they walk around the school. Two cute girls walking together. Imu's agenda is to stop Kokomi from being with Kusuo. She sees Kusuo as a creep, and Kokomi is too good for him. She is ready to come between them and make sure that Kokomi takes her mind off Kusuo. Kusuo can read her thoughts, and all of these make him happy. If he can get Kokomi off his back, he considers it a big win. Imu suggests that they visit the mixer where Kokomi would get to meet several other guys who are handsome and much better than Kusuo. While going to the mixer, Chiyo accompanies the duo. Meanwhile, Kusuo is following them too because he wants to know how the event will turn out. Upon getting there, the three girls also meet with three boys. Chiyo and Imu introduce themselves, but the boys are already engrossed with Kokomi. They can't wait for her to introduce herself to them. She does this and they are already melting on their seats. The problem of who will be with Kokomi now arises. The trio goes to the restroom to play rock, paper, scissors to know who will be with Kokomi. Meanwhile, Kokomi is still thinking about Kusuo at the event. Kusuo goes to the restroom and knocks out the boys because he doesn't think any of them is good enough for Kokomi. Kokomi is still waiting for the boys, but they won't show up again. Up next, Shun and Aren see a lump moving around Ricky's body, and this scares them. They finally get to realize that the lump is none other than the hamster from before. The hamster likes to sneak into Ricky's clothes and follow him around. The hamster was even Ricky on the island, but it hid itself to avoid being eaten. Kusuo is surprised that he can't see the hamster with his X-ray vision. Aren and Shun want to know if the hamster likes them. The hamster climbs their hands and poops on them instead. He is scared of Shun the most. Shun tried to dissect him if we remember. Kusuo then asks the hamster about his gender. The big shock comes when he says he is female. Looks like I'll have to start addressing the hamster with a she. Later on, Kusuo and his friends get locked inside the basketball court after the game. Kusuo's friends start to panic. They start to bang on the door. Kusuo uses his power to unlock the door, and he's just waiting for them to push it open. Ricky then suggests that the hamster get the key to the door for them. She believes that it is her time to shine, and she gets on it immediately. However, she gets chased back after she runs into Mr. Matt. Matt opens the door, and the group considers themselves lucky not knowing the door has been unlocked for quite some time. Ricky is scolded for bringing a hamster to school. Later on, Kusuo checks Satu's physical records to find out that he got an average from it too. He starts to stalk Satu to know how he goes about his day-to-day life. Kusuo could only conclude that Satu is ordinary, and he is the kind of person that he likes. Reita hits Ricky with an eraser so Ricky can fight Satu. However, Satu manages to get himself out of the mess quite confidently. Kusuo makes up his mind that Satu will be his friend. He's the kind of person that he wants. At school, he waits for Satu at the gate. Kusuo is holding Satu's favorite drink, favorite headphones, and the like. Satu sees this, and he is immediately impressed with Kusuo. He thinks of approaching Kusuo, but he changes his mind. He prefers to go home and play video games. Some days later, Shun suggests that they all get a haircut. Kusuo passes on the suggestion, but the rest of the group agrees. They get to the saloon and they all tell the barber the type of style that they want. Ricky has no style in mind, so the barber just gives him a random style. They get back to school, and the girls start to swarm Ricky because he looks different with the hairstyle. His friends are surprised that the girls find him attractive, even with his big chin. Ricky soon ruins the spotlight himself when he starts to act weird. He puts his finger into his nose to pick it and eat it. All the people surrounding him disappear in an instant. In the next scene, Kusuo and Miko are walking through the street when they run into Mera. She begs them to come with her to the restaurant where she is working or she will be fired. Her boss has told her to bring in more customers or get fired. She took a bite out of the customer's food, and this was her punishment. This is because of Mera's crazy appetite. Kusuo and Miko follow her to the restaurant to help her out. Upon getting there, Mera reveals that she is working 12 part-time jobs because she is trying to save up. She wants to go to Puerto Rico to see her father. She has saved up just 500 yen. Kusuo says she will need to save for a decade before she can get the money. Miko orders omelet rice. She realizes that Mera wants a taste of the food and she buys a plate for her. Mera thanked her for the gesture. She reveals that the only things she has eaten for the week are snow and grass. After she is done eating, Mera resumes her duty. After she is gone, Miko suggests that Kusuo go to Puerto Rico to get Mera's father for her. She is suffering and her father might help out. Kusuo blames Miko for telling Mera that her father is in Puerto Rico. He says Mera is overworking herself because of this. Kusuo refuses to help out and he leaves the restaurant. Miko wants to know exactly where Mera's father is, so she brings out her crystal to find out. She invokes her power and finds out that Mera's father is actually close by. Kusuo gets outside and he runs into Mera's father. The man asks Kusuo if he knows his daughter because he is wearing a PK Academy uniform, but Kusuo says no. Kusuo says no because he is not sure if the man is looking at is Mera's father or just a stalker. The man explains to Kusuo that he was once a wealthy businessman, but his company fell into debt and he had to run away because the people he is owing are dangerous. This was the reason he abandoned his daughter, but he has now come back to Japan because of her. He wants to die so that his family can still have some money from the life insurance funds that will be given to them. Kusuo doesn't wait to listen to the rest of what Mera's father has to say, and he leaves. On the other hand, Mera and Miko are looking for Mera's father. They soon find her father, but he starts running away. They chase after him. Meanwhile, there are debt collectors in Japan who are coming after Mera's father. They end up kidnapping Kusuo, but we all know that it won't end well for them. Mera's father tells his daughter and Miko that there are people after him, and she will be in danger if he stays around her. Miko can see the death sign on his face because he is planning to unalive himself. Just then, the debt collectors show up to tell Mera's father that there is no need for him to pay the debt again. The group runs away after this. Miko knows that Kusuo later helped out. Soon afterward, Kusuo realizes that a particular manga that he likes has fallen off when it comes to writing. The details and plot have gone bad for the past 3 weeks. Kusuo's father sees him reading the manga and he says he is the editor. He is surprised to see his son complaining about it. He tells Kusuo that he is about to go out and meet with the writer. After he is gone, Kusuo uses astral projection to follow his father. The writer brings out the new scripts he has written for the week. Kusuo goes through them and he is amazed at how good it is. He is surprised to see his father complaining about the script. He says the script is too dark. It dawns on Kusuo that his father has been the one changing the writer's mind about the plot and details of the script. After his father has left the meeting, Kusuo changes into his father's appearance and tells the writer to ignore everything he said earlier. He tells the writer to continue with the usual way of writing. A week later, the manga's review came out and the rating was very good. Kusuo's father is even happy with the rating, like he had something to do with it. Later on, Shun and his friends decide to go on a picnic. They plan to go on flower viewing. They get to the spot to find out that it is already crowded by people and there is no one ready to give them a little space. Shun and his friends are still thinking of what to do when Kokomi shows up. This is a blessing to them because Kokomi easily uses her charm to get the best spot for them. Shortly afterward, Kusuo travels to a deserted island to master the use of his powers. He is trying to get even stronger without removing the regulation device. He later reveals the reason why he is training so hard. There is a particular volcanic eruption that is going to take place that might bring an end to Japan. He is trying to get stronger to be able to prevent this. He is still not strong enough this year, and he hopes that next year will be better. Up next, Mitori's father tells him that it is time for him to go through the family's trial and tradition. He is to stay for the rest of the day without receiving help from any of the servants. Basically, he will have to do everything by himself. After school, Mitori tells Kusuo and his friends about the predicament he is currently facing. He needs their help to go home. Shun wants to reject it, but Riki suggests that they help him. Mitori says his father gave him only 10,000 yen to survive for the day. He doesn't even know the directions to his house because he doesn't go anywhere without his driver. He wants to call a taxi, but Shun stops him. Shun tells him that he and his crew don't use taxis. They walk anywhere they are going to. Riki carries Mitori on his back. They get to a ramen shop and Riki wants them to get ramen. Mitori is shocked when he is informed that he will have to wait in line. He doesn't know the way of life because he gets things very easily. After some time, it is their turn to get their order in. They order ramen and they are soon served. Mitori reluctantly eats the ramen and he tells the crew that the ramen isn't worth it. Mitori successfully makes it to the end of the day. Upon getting home, the first thing he tells the chef is to prepare ramen for him. He actually enjoyed the ramen he ate earlier, but he was pretending. In the next scene, Reita tells Miko and Kusuo that a girl is looking for her cat. Reita has given the trio a name known as the Psychikers. He says it is their job to help the girl. Kusuo knows that Reita is just doing it to get on the girl's good side. The trio are the only power users in the school, so they need to step up and help the girl look for her cat. They soon locate the cat. Reita and Miko have a hard time trying to catch the cat, but Kusuo easily catches the cat. Miko and Reita say they are pretty useless on the mission. Kusuo can do anything and pretty much doesn't even need them. Kusuo assures the duo that they are not useless. He actually used their power to enhance his own power to easily locate the cat, he says. Moments later, Miko uses her power to find out that a train accident is imminent. Kusuo teleports himself and Reita to the location. Reita uses his spirit channeling ability to gain the knowledge of a train driver and conductor. He is able to stop the train without any casualties. Soon afterward, Chiyo forces Kusuo to follow her to their occult club. She tells Kusuo that they want to perform a ritual on him. They want to know who he likes. Chiyo says their deity is known as Sayaka. She is able to predict things, but Kusuo knows it's all a lie. He needs to get rid of the club before they take things further. While they are performing their useless ritual, Kusuo uses his power to disrupt the room and get them scared. The duo runs away, and Kusuo is sure that they won't come back. In the next scene, Kusuo sees his parents playing romantically like they usually do. Suddenly, things go off between them, arguing again without any known reason. They sit down to have dinner and the duo refuses to talk to each other. To even pass the salt to each other is a problem. Kusuo just looks at them with confusion. After this, the duo decides to know who loves each other the most. They want to know their favorability score. The contest begins and they keep going at each other. Kuniharu is about to win, but Kurumi comes back with a surprise attack. The duo keeps dragging it till they both find out that they love each other equally. They can finally give up on their arguments. However, that is not the case. They still continued even after the contest. It is the art period in the school. The teacher tells them to pair themselves. Each pair will face each other and draw their partners. After the pairing, Kokomi has no partner, And Kusuo doesn't have one either. Kusuo doesn't want to partner with Kokomi, but he has no choice. The duo sits down facing each other. Kokomi wants to get the best possible portrait of Kusuo. Kusuo, on the other hand, is thinking of a way not to make Kusuo's portrait very beautiful. However, he needs to make it okay because the boys might eat him up if he draws rubbish. The duo keeps tearing up the sketch after every minute. They are trying to get the perfect portrait. Moments later, Kusuo says he is done. The boy collects his paper to check what he has drawn. The paper is blank, and they are shocked to see this. However, their obsession with Kokomi makes the boys create a beautiful image of her out of the blank paper. Continuing with the story, Kusuo and his friends see Ricky going around with a baseball bat. When asked what he is doing with it, he tells them that he has practice. Because Satu is on the baseball team, Kusuo decides that he is going to watch the team training session. His friends also joined him. They get to the field, and Ricky is surprised to see his friends. He believes that they have come to watch him play, but he has no idea that they are there on different agendas. The captain of the team introduces each member of the team to Kusuo and his crew. Kusuo is already focused on Satu. Just then, the principal shows up to remind them that they will be out of the competition once they lose their coming game. The captain tells Kusuo that they had a star player, but he got suspended because he fought. Everything now rests on the shoulders of the players remaining in the team. During practice, the captain gets hit in the head and he is unable to play. Kusuo is suggested as his replacement. On the day of the competition, Kusuo shows up at the venue with bandages on his fingers. He claims that he injured his fingers and will not be able to participate in the game again. The responsibility falls on Shun, but he soon proves to be useless with the way he handles the ball. Shun is then replaced with Arin. Moments later, PK Academy and the opponent step onto the field. Kusuo is surprised by the players from the other team. They all appear to be professional baseball players. Kusuo knows that PK Academy has no chance against the other team. However, he is still not ready to help. He believes that the team can pull it off without his help. The game starts and the opponents start to run circles around the school's team. He is still waiting for a miraculous event to happen, and it will turn the tide of the game. The game is about to be lost when Kusuo finds the team ace. He takes over his body and makes him go to the field. His team is very happy to see him. Kusuo has plans not to win the game by himself to prevent suspicion. The team spirit is up and they start giving their opponents A for their money. Ricky is also giving his best. The team starts to give their best to try and overtake the opponents. After so much work, the team managed to bring the match to a draw. The captain of the team gets up from the hospital to check the progress of his team members. Shun tells him that he doesn't need to worry about it. He tells the captain to put his mind at rest. After this, the whole team goes to a restaurant to eat and replenish their strength. In the next scene, Kuniharu returns home to tell his family that the company he works for has declared bankruptcy and he no longer has a job. He has lots of mortgages on the house. The house was given to him by Kusuke, but he opted to buy the house instead. He is now in big trouble because of the mortgage and all. He also says he has no other skills aside from being an editor. In addition, he's an expert in shoe licking. Kusuke even drops by the house and he is surprised to hear this. Kuniharu decides to open a shoe licking stand the next day. He promises to make their shoes clean by licking them. The first customer comes and he gets to work immediately. He does his licking act and the shoe starts to shine. Kuniharu explains to his children that he actually does not lick the shoes but pretends to. He brings his mouth very close to the shoe and uses his head to block the customer's view. He then uses a shiner to rub the shoe while the customer is not paying attention. Moments later, the scriptwriter whom Kuniharu was an editor comes around. After his departure, plenty of people started to show up to get their shoes licked. A little while later, the business became known across Japan, and Kuniharu made a lot of money from this. Kusuke also made him an automated mouth to help him lick shoes. After some time, Kuniharu says he has made lots of money already and doesn't need to lick shoes again. Kusuke shocks him when he reveals that the shoe licky business is owned by him and he has diverted all the funds to another company. This means Kuniharu has no funds as he has thought. The company Kusuke diverted the money to is the publisher's company. He has acquired the company and brought it back to life. He later hires his father to come to the company and start licking shoes. Some days later, it is Mera's birthday. She's expecting gifts from all of her friends because she gave them something on their birthdays too. The gift she gave them was an acorn each. She knows that she will receive gifts because they will want to repay her kindness. Mera starts to get disappointed when the gifts she's receiving are not food. The disappointment shows on her face, and this infuriates all those who have given her gift. They start taking back their gifts. However, they all return the gifts back to her after she makes amendments to her ways. Continuing with the story, Kusuo is approached by Imu. She tells Kusuo to introduce her to a great guy or she will tell everyone that he is a scumbag. There is nothing more that Kusuo wants than that. After she tells him this, Kusuo meets up with Takahashi to tell him that Imu is interested in him. Takahashi hears this and quickly runs to approach Imu. Imu is disappointed because Takahashi is one of the worst guys she could have. She rejects Takahashi and she scolds Kusuo for playing with her. She describes the type of guy she wants for Kusuo. While she is doing so, all Kusuo can think about is Riki. Just then, Chiyo appears and offers to help Imu out on her search for a great guy. She starts to show her the boys in the class so she can make her choice. She says Hairo would have been great for her, pretty sure that the guy doesn't have time for dating. She looks through the class, but she manages to find an excuse to get rid of those that could potentially be her boyfriend. Reita then approaches her. She initially falls for his charisma, but she quickly figures out that Reita is a piece of trash. After the whole day, she couldn't make a choice on what she wanted. After school, she and Kokomi start to walk home together. She wishes that she could get a guy as perfect as Kokomi. They soon run into Kokomi's brother and Imu falls in love immediately. Kusuo is in the distance, and he is observing everything going on. He cannot believe that Imu is interested in someone like Makoto. Later on, Kusuo sees Makoto while walking home. Makoto is standing in front of a store. He's planning on getting his sister a gift for her birthday, which is coming up the following week. He starts thinking of the inappropriate things he can get his sister to make her love him. Kusuo is staying in the distance when Makoto suddenly approaches him. He knows that Kusuo has been following him, so he forces him to join him on the hunt for a Kokomi's birthday gift. Makoto starts talking about the things that Kokomi loves. He knows her favorite color and what she likes to do often. He checks through the store to get an idea of what his sister would want. He starts buying different kinds of expensive stuff. He is not even listening to the advice that Kusuo is giving to him. He just buys things that he believes his sister will appreciate. They see a plain mug with a painting of a dog on it. Kusuo advises him to buy it, but he refuses. However, Kusuo buys the mug and sneaks it into the bag. Makoto later gets home to give his sister the gifts that he bought for her. Kokomi doesn't like any of the gifts, but she finds the mug and loves it. Makoto takes the glory even though he is not the one who bought the mug. He even wonders how the mug got there in the first place. Up next, Reita sees some girls discussing. He hears them talk about seeing a ghost inside an abandoned building in town. As usual, Reita sees the situation as an opportunity to get the girls to love him. He offers to eliminate the ghosts. He then calls a meeting with the occult group. He tables the matter in front of them. Kusuo knows the real reason why Reita is so passionate about the ghost issue, but he just wants to know for sure if there are ghosts inside the building or not. The group decides to meet with each other that night. That night, the group assembles and moves to the building. Sun brings a big flashlight with him. They are already scared before even entering the building. Upon entering, the flashlight goes off for a few seconds and Chiyo feels something touch her butt. She gets scared that the ghosts have touched her. She later finds out that the culprit is Reita. She punches him in the head as punishment. The flashlight ends up getting destroyed in the process. Reita and Kusuo decide to investigate further into the building to be sure there are ghosts. They enter one of the rooms to find a ghost there. He laments that all of his friends are gone because he played a prank on them. He hasn't finished talking when his friends come back. It turns out that a group of ghosts is living inside the building. Reita and Kusuo decide to leave them be. They tell the group that they have successfully chased away the ghosts. The rest of the group just looks at them like they are insane. Soon afterward, Kusuo sees an advertisement for a newly designed coffee jelly maker. It even has wheels on it. Kusuo immediately falls in love with the product, but he has no money to buy it. He has exhausted all his money. He decides to start working for his parents in exchange for money. He helps them to do menial jobs, and he gets paid little money in return. After milking his parents, he moves over to his grandparents' house. His grandfather is very happy to see him. He ends up working for him also. His grandpa gives him the money he needs to buy the machine. Kusuo finally buys the machine and is very happy to have bought it. In the next scene, Shun invites his friends over to his secret base. He takes them into the woods, where he has built a tent. He tells Riki and Kusuo that Aren helped him out with the construction of the structure. Riki soon gets bored because there are no video games inside the base. Shun only has card games. They are about to leave, but Aren suggests that they reconstruct the building. They get on it and they finish up the new base that same day. Unknown to them, Kusuo is the one holding the building together with his powers. Just then, a bug lands on Kusuo and he passes out. Immediately, Kusuo loses consciousness. The building collapses. One day, Kusuo receives a package. He thinks the package contains coffee jelly, so he doesn't bother using his X-ray vision to look inside. Upon opening, the box explodes, but Kusuo quickly uses his power to restore the building's integrity. He knows that only one person can send him a bomb as a package, and that is none other than his brother. His brother Video calls him to inform him that he has a challenge for him. He has planted a firework in the town that will explode and reveal Kusuo's secret. He then tells Kusuo that he has placed 5 cards in different locations in the city. Kusuo must find all the cards before the clock runs down to avoid his secret from getting exposed. Kusuke already has someone at each location to give him a note. He gets to the first location, which is the mall. He receives a hint that tells him that the card he is looking for is with one of the people inside the mall. Kusuo uses his telepathy to figure out who holds the card, and he successfully retrieves the first card. After this, he goes to the park, which is the second location. He also retrieves the card from this location, and he makes his way to the mountains, which is the third location. After successfully obtaining the third card, He goes to the bank for the fourth card. He has 1 hour left to complete the mission. He easily retrieves the card thanks to the power of invincibility. He now has 30 minutes left on the clock. He gets to a room filled with different cards, and he needs to get the right one on time. He manages to get the card, but Kusuke says he is 1 minute late. Kusuke activates the fireworks, but instead of spilling his secret. The fireworks are to wish Kusuo a happy birthday. The cards he has been collecting are also birthday cards. Kusuke then gives Kusuo the card for 1 year's supply of coffee jelly. As Kusuke walks away, he says it is time to try and get to his brother's limits. Kusuo is enjoying his summer break when Yuta comes to visit. He tells Kusuo that he would like to visit the zoo. Kusuo has no choice but to comply. Kusuo is able to communicate with animals, so he easily knows what the animals at the zoo are thinking. Explores the zoo, Yuta finds a deer that he likes. He wants to take a picture with the deer, but finds out that his bag is gone. Kusuo then uses his power to communicate with the gorillas to know where Yuta's bag is. The gorillas tell him that the bag is with a monkey. He gets to the monkey's confinement and he asks the monkey to give the bag back, but he refuses. Kusuo then reminds the monkey that he is below humans and that he can easily send him back to the wild if he wants. The monkey gets scared and throws out the bag to avoid problems for himself. After leaving the zoo, Yuta realizes that he didn't take pictures with the deer and that they need to go back again. Up next, Kusuo hears his father saying he will be late to collect the batch of Silent Cyborg scripts from the author, Shiragami. Silent Cyborg is one of his favorite mangas and he cannot afford to miss it. He transforms into his father and makes his way to Shiragami's house. Upon getting there, the author is ready to pack the scripts into an envelope to give to Kuniharu. Kusuo sees one of the author's assistants, who is into writing also. He tells Kusuo to check out the script he is working on. Kusuo checks it out and he finds lots of errors. He criticizes him and also tells him how to correct the errors. Kusuo finds out that the script he is working on is similar to that of a popular anime. He tells him to change everything and should make the ending more satisfying. Later on, Kusuo and his friends get to meet Shun's little brother, Toki. He is a little brat who doesn't respect anybody. He says whatever he wants to anyone. He also believes that his brother is a tough guy who leads a band of dangerous guys. He looks up to Shun and would like to be tough like him one day. Shun's friends are just laughing at everything he is saying because they know that Shun is a coward. How he has convinced his brother that he is tough is what baffles them. While they are at Shun's house, they learn that he even has a sister. The sister is even tougher than Shun. They are walking through the street when Toki sees a thug and he intentionally picks a fight with him. He wants to show his brother how tough he has gotten. He takes down the crook in one attack. He reveals that he has been visiting the dojo to get even stronger than his brother. Unknown to him, he has surpassed his brother's level. In the next scene, Kokomi sees Kusuo talking to Miko, and she gets jealous. She wants to know why Kusuo has decided to associate himself with Miko, but not her. She starts analyzing what could be wrong. She comes to the conclusion that Kusuo likes girls with big personalities. However, she debunks that idea by herself. She thinks Kusuo is into Miko because she is Gyaru. She decides to take on the Gyaru personality too, but it doesn't work for her. She finally gives up and starts acting more like herself. Soon afterward, the class receives another transfer student yet again. His name is Tuma. He likes to talk a lot and can't keep his mouth shut. While he was making his introduction, he spent more than the time given. He is a chronic talkative. Aren and Shun are tired of hearing blabbering around the class. No one wants to sit around him because he won't allow them to rest from excessive talking. Aren and Shun approach him and tell him to shut up. He makes an observation about Aren. He says he is a former delinquent, and this shocks them. They want to know he figured it out. He tells them that he knows things that he shouldn't because he figures things out very quickly. He is not a psychic, but he knows one. He says he was surprised to see the psychic in PK when he transferred to the school. Kusuo is already feeling uneasy when he hears this because he knows that Tuma might be referring to him. Just then, Tuma points to Kusuo and says he is well aware that he is a psychic. He reveals that they went to the same elementary school together, and he can remember correctly that Kusuo has psychic powers. Immediately Tuma mentions this. Kusuo just makes a dumb face. Tuma continues to ask him several questions, but he refuses to answer. He continues making his innocent face to avoid talking to him. Shun and Aren say Kusuo would tell them if he was a psychic. The duo refuses to believe what Tuma is telling them. Tuma is about to continue talking, but the bell rings and his conversation is interrupted. Shun and the rest of the class are relieved that they will finally find peace from his excessive talks. Before Kusuo leaves the class, Tuma promises him that he will make sure he finds out and exposes to everyone that he is a psychic. He is very sure that Kusuo is behind the event that happened when they were in elementary school. After this, Tuma starts going around talking to Kusuo's classmates. He wants to know if they have noticed anything unusual since they have known Kusuo. Kusuo is confident that Tuma will not get anything credible from anyone he talks to. Tuma asks Riki, Shun, Chiyo, and the like several questions begins, but nobody suspects Kusuo of having superpowers. He finally finds Kokomi, and his mind is blown away. He can't believe that Kusuo is acquainted with someone so beautiful. After speaking with Kokomi, Tuma talks to Reita. With the kind of reaction Reita gives out, Tuma is very sure that he knows something about Kusuo. Reita quickly takes on the spirit of a master swindler to deceive Tuma into believing that he doesn't know anything about Kusuo. After this, the students are called to the field to dig potatoes. They do this once a year. They harvest potatoes and the students participate. Tuma and Kusuo are a pair. Tuma notices that Kusuo is wearing a glove and he is making sure that he doesn't dig. Tuma is also able to figure out that Kusuo is afraid of bugs. He wants to use this as a factor to scare Kusuo into using his powers. Kusuo is aware of this, and he uses hypnosis to make Mera look like him. Tuma scares Mera with bugs, but there is no reaction. He is surprised to see Kusuo not reacting to the bugs whatsoever. Tuma starts to wonder if he's overthinking things. Kusuo is determined to start making use of his ability to hide his power. Up next, Amp is walking through the streets when he sees people gathered around a white cat. No one even looked at him. They are all concentrating on the cat. Amp then goes to Kusuo and complains to him. While he is doing so, the white cat shows up again. Kusuo's father comes out of the house to see the cat, and he is blown away. He abandons Amp immediately and starts taking care of the white cat. Amp believes that his era is gone and the white cat has the spotlight now. Just then, Kusuo's mother arrives. She is surprised to see cats in front of their house. She is allergic to cats, and this is why she can't keep cats. Amp is already glad that Kusuo's family won't get to keep the cat. While he is saying this, Kusuke shows up and tells his father and mother that the cat they are looking at is a robot. He designed it to mimic cat movements and other things that cats do. He created the cat because of his mother. He knows that she is allergic to cats, but the invention will help her out. The robot is also a gift for their wedding anniversary. Kusuo's mother is very happy. She and her husband take the cat inside the house and lock Amp outside. Later on, Matori gets to his desk to find out that someone has messed it up. He is surprised by this because he has always enjoyed a very easy life with no stress. Everybody around him has always worshipped him, and this includes his parents. He decides to leave the school. Ricky hears this and begs him not to. He says they are already friends. Matori hears this and he becomes emotional when he realizes that he now has something that money cannot buy. The rest of the crew also arrives to stop Matori from dropping out. That night, Matori tells the principal that he longer has the intention of leaving the school. He also makes another donation to the school. Up next, the class is mandated to select a committee for the coming event. Pick a boy and a girl in the class. Hairo and Fumi were last year's committee members, which means they cannot be selected again. The teacher throws the decision to the class. She tells anyone who is willing to volunteer to raise his or her hands. None of the students is willing to raise his or her hands. No one wants to be committed. They are also careful not to make any sudden movements. Any sudden movement can lead to the role being forced on you. Mera stands up to explain that she won't be available. She lists the number of reasons why she won't be available, and she is exempted from those that can be selected. Matori then decides to throw money in the bag. All of them start to volunteer because of the money. However, Arin tells Matori that everything is not about money. Because of this, the class respects Arin, and they all agree that he should be the male committee member. After Arin has been selected, Kokomi intentionally volunteers so she can gain the favor of her classmates. Suddenly, the whole class says they don't want Arin as the male member again. They decide to pull the lottery. They do this, and Kusuo's name is selected. He simply cannot escape this. Kusuo and Kokomi are selected to be the committee members for the upcoming cultural festival. Kokomi is happy that she will get to spend most of the time with Kusuo. She has always wanted to be alone with Kusuo. The duo visits the library together to plan out everything that they need to make the festival a successful one. While they are there, Kokomi starts to suggest several events that they can do to make the festival a blast. Maid Cafe is one of the events that was suggested by Kokomi. Kusuo realizes that Kokomi is enjoying his company. He intentionally calls his friends over to ruin that. Upon getting there, they start to discuss matters that are not even relevant. They even go as far as telling stories that do not even relate to what they are doing. This is what they did till the whole day was gone. Before leaving the library, the group is able to conclude on an event they want to do. They're going to perform a play. This is related to one of the mangas that they have read before. They will need to develop characters and plot for the play. 2 days before the festival, the class is ready for the play. They have had lots of practice, and everyone already knows his or her role. Shun is the director of the play. They already have their costumes ready, and everyone involved in the play is to try it out. Kusuo is given the role of Seaweed, Ricky will play Coral, and Hairo. Kokomi is playing a central role, and all the boys are blown away by her costume. She looks radiant in her costume. Arin is playing the secondary protagonist in the play. After trying out their costumes, they decide to do a final rehearsal in preparation. During the rehearsal, they all play out their roles to perfection. However, there are still some of the cast that break character. The play is about a turtle that was rescued by a fisherman. He takes the turtle to the royal palace, which is known as the Dragon Palace. The queen took care of the turtle till it went back to the sea to spend the rest of its life. After the rehearsal, Kusuo complains about the ending. Shun then tells Kusuo that Metori made him change the original story. Metori provided all the costumes that were used, so it was normal for Shun to listen to him. With the conclusion of the rehearsal, they are good to go for the festival. On the day of the festival, a problem arises when Metori takes away all the costumes he provided. The cast doesn't want to cancel the play, so they need to continue with the play with their regular school uniforms. They put their all into the play to make it a success. During the play, Shun gets nervous during the play because he is scared of facing the crowd. Kusuo uses his power to make the audience look like potatoes. Shun is able to regain his confidence because of this. Kusuo is not ready to see the play fail because he is part of the committee. He is ready to do everything to see the play come out successful. He also uses hypnosis to make the audience see the actors in costumes. After the play, they end up losing the best performance to Class 5. Class 5 played The Wizard of Oz. Up next, Kusuo, Riki, and Shun are walking home together. Riki and Shun tell Kusuo that their day is already occupied. They have people that they want to meet with later in the day. Just then, Kusuo's glasses fall off and he ends up petrifying the duo. This is another problem because the duo will only turn back to their usual self after 24 hours. Kusuo takes the duo to his house to keep them safe. He needs to stop them from falling too. After they turn back to their usual self, they won't remember what happened for the last 24 hours. However, Kusuo needs to provide a solution to their appointments. Riki wants to meet with Uryoku while Shun is going to the cram school. Kusuo has no choice but to call Reita and Miko over for help. He tells the duo that they will be the ones to cover for Riki and Shun. He is going to use his hypnosis to make Reita look like Riki, while Miko will appear as Shun. With this, they will be able to attend to the duo's appointment with ease. They just need to play the roles of the duo very well. Later on, Miko and Reita set out to meet with their respective appointments. Reita plays the role of Riki so well. Miko also goes to cram school. She is able to answer all the questions on the question paper with the help of Kusuo. Just then, Miko realizes that Chiyo is attending the cram school too. This might be a problem because Chiyo is in love with Shun and she would want to talk to him. On the other hand, Uryoku and Shun meet with a colleague of his. Shun starts to lose focus when he sees the big personality of Uryoku's colleague. He is tempted to touch the personality, but Kusuo manages to get him out of it by bribing him with something he cannot resist. Back at the cram school, Chiyo immediately approaches Miko after the school session. She hugs Miko tight, and she starts thinking of confessing her love to Shun. Kusuo tells Miko to deal with the situation because Shun might return to his normal self and not feel anything toward Chiyo. This will cause tension between them. Miko manages to use a harsh tone on Chiyo to get her to leave. Shun acts like he doesn't care and leaves Chiyo standing. With this, Miko successfully diffuses the situation. Reita is able to get Riki through the day also. Kusuo thanks the duo for successfully covering for Riki and Shun. When it is 10 minutes before the time that Reik and Shun will return to normal, Kusuo takes them to the same spot where they were petrified to make it look like nothing happened. The duo returns to normal and continues their daily life as usual. Up next, Kuniharu names the robot cat his son gave him. He calls the cat Warp. Warp wakes him up one morning and Kuniharu is surprised that the cat is capable of human speech. He has always thought that Warp will make only cat noises. He gets worried because of this. He and his wife go through Warp's manual book to see if there is anything that the robot can do that will make it look like a normal cat. They are surprised at the things they find. He has an audio playback function. He is able to take pictures whenever they say cute words. Wasp can also take red liquid samples in case it is needed. Kuniharu is overwhelmed by all of these and he runs away from home. However, follows him. Kuniharu doesn't believe that a robot can perfectly act as a cat. He finally changes his mind when he realizes that Wasp is ready to stay with him wherever he goes. Kuniharu finally considers Wasp as part of the family. It is the New Year's Eve. Shun invites his friends over so that they can do the New Year countdown together. They are to stay awake till the New Year. Kusuo gets to Shun's house to find out that Riki is already there. Shortly afterward, Hairo and Aren also arrive at the house. They want to engage themselves in several recreational activities that will prevent them from sleeping. They play card games, but they keep dozing off on the game. Hairo suggests that they join him in working out. Surprisingly, he sleeps off while working out. They still have up to 3 hours to go before the new year. Shun then suggests that they take turns sleeping. Each person will sleep for 45 minutes. They play rock, paper, scissors to know who will get to sleep first. Kusuo is the person who goes to sleep first. He hasn't even gone to sleep when the others have dozed off too. He closes his eyes and finds himself in his house. It suddenly occurs to Kusuo that the visit to Shun's house is actually a precognition of what is about to happen. Just then, the phone rings. His mother tells him that Shun is on the line, but Kusuo rejects the call because he already knows what will happen. It is the new year, and Kusuo wants to spend the day in silence. He decides to use the germanium ring to prevent him from hearing people's thoughts. He is forced by his friends to go to the shrine, but he makes sure not to utter a word. When it is time for his New Year's prayer, Kusuo prays that he wants a silent year. This is the only time he opens his mouth to say something that day. Up next, Kusuo's grandparents want to come to visit. They want to come by themselves, so they told Kusuo not to worry about teleporting them. Moments later, Grandpa calls to tell them that he is lost. He has also gotten separated from his wife. His phone is down, so there is no way he can reach her. He is using a telephone booth to reach them. He tells Kusuo to come and get him. Kusuo uses clairvoyance to know where his grandpa is. He sees that he is very close, and he can easily get to him. He is about to go when he sees Kokomi approaching his grandpa. This is a problem because he doesn't want Kokomi to see him. He decides to find his grandma instead. Another problem arises when he sees his grandma with Miko. He wants to go back to his grandpa to get him, before he finds out that Kokomi knows who he is. It is too late because his grandpa just found out that Kokomi and Kusuo are classmates. His grandpa and Kokomi start to talk about Kusuo. Grandpa is already taking a liking to Kokomi because he sees her as a nice person. He wants the duo to get married. They keep discussing as Kokomi walks Grandpa to Kusuo's house. On the other hand, Miko has taken Grandma to the club. Grandma also finds out Miko knows Kusuo. She has taken a liking to Miko and she wants Miko to marry her grandson. Grandpa and Grandma get back to start arguing about who they want Kusuo to marry. Grandpa wants Kokomi while Grandma wants Miko. In the next scene, Reita approaches Kusuo. He needs his help. He reminds Kusuo that he owes him a favor for helping him out with Riki and Shun's situation. He tells Kusuo that he has been mandated to have a 3-day fasting at the shrine. He is an apprentice at the shrine, so it is required of him to cleanse him. He won't eat for 3 days, but he can drink water. Kusuo to come and give him food during his fasting period. He can easily get to him using his invincibility power. Reita won't have access to his adult magazines during this period also. Shortly afterward, Reita is locked in a small house where he is to observe the fast. 2 days later, Reita is already looking lean and Kusuo has not shown up to give him food. Moments later, Kusuo shows up with plenty of snacks. However, he is not going to allow Reita to touch it because he really wants Reita to be reformed after the period of fasting. He wants him to feel pain so he can forget all the things that have always corrupted him. After the fast is over, the hut's door is opened so Reita can come out. Reita is truly reformed, and he doesn't show interest in adult magazines again. He slips on the stairs and falls because he is exhausted. Kusuo is happy that he has changed and he decided to help him. Kusuo accidentally resets all the pain in his body, including the pain he endured throughout the fast. Because of this, Reita returns to his old self. The fasting and pain just got wasted. Continuing with the story, Chiyo makes chocolate for Shun, but she doesn't know how to give him. She wants to leave it inside his locker, but she is too scared. She starts to contemplate how to get the chocolate to Shun. She finally decides to write a letter and put it inside Shun's locker. She will leave a hint on how he can get to the chocolate. He will be able to know that she loves him after seeing the cake. She goes ahead with her plan. Shun sees the letter and she follows the direction left for him. He gets to the room where the cake is. Shun is surprised to find Riki inside the room. Riki is eating a cake, but Shun doesn't know that the cake Riki is eating is for him. He finds another note inside the room. He believes that he needs to decipher the words written inside the note. On the second day, Shun approaches Chiyo and tells her that he got the letter she left for him. He then tells her that he is ready to be her friend, as she suggested. Kusuo uses his power to find out how Shun deciphered the letter. Shun had deciphered the letter in the wrong way, and he believes that Chiyo wants to be friends with him instead of lovers. Chiyo believes that she and Shun are now lovers, while Shun believes that he is friends with Chiyo. After school that day, Chiyo suggests that she and Shun walk home together. She starts behaving like Shun's girlfriend. Shun is uncomfortable but can't tell her because he doesn't want to hurt her. The duo sits down in the park to discuss. During their discussion, Chiyo realizes that she made a mistake with the code. Shun already deciphered it as being best friends. She gets heartbroken and tears fall from her eyes. She stands up to leave and Shun notices this. He calls her back to tell her that he can't be her best friend because he won't be able to act freely around her. The duo then agrees to go back to the way things were before. Kusuo is glad that they were able to settle it amicably. Up next, the press club starts to plan their revenge against Kokomi. They blame her for the bad reputation that the club now has. Manako is ready to do everything in her power to make sure that she gets an inappropriate picture of Kokomi. As Kokomi walks home, Manako and her vice do everything they can to try and get a bad picture of Kokomi. She already knows that she is being followed. Kokomi is already prepared for them, and she is able to maneuver her way around all the traps that have been set for her. Manako is frustrated and finally agrees to edit Kokomi's face. She is in the middle of this when Kusuo drives by with a motorcycle. He splashes water on the computer and camera that Manako is using. This is able to deter the club from chasing after Kokomi. One day, Kusuo decides to walk home with Hairo instead of Shun and Riki. He gets to see how good Hairo is as they walk home. Hairo doesn't hesitate to help others. He carries an old woman to the train station. He helps a little boy who is lost. He helps a man find his direction. He packs all the trash he sees in the vicinity. Kusuo is very impressed with how diligent Hairo is. He doesn't even do any of this because of the reward. Overpowered. After he is done helping a crowd of people, Hairo even buys a soft drink for Kusuo in appreciation that he stayed with him all through. Just then, they see a thief robbing a store. Hairo wastes no time in challenging the thief, even though the thief is armed with a knife. Kusuo uses his power to help Hairo so he can easily disarm the thief. The news of their heroism travels across. Hairo and Kusuo's picture comes out in the morning newspaper. Mr. Matt tells the duo that he is impressed with them. They have made the school proud. In the next scene, we see Imu discussing with Kokomi. She is trying to hide the fact that she is a fan of her brother. She is so engrossed with Makoto that he is the only thing she thinks about. She goes crazy anytime she hears anything concerning Makoto. She finds out that Makoto is currently shooting a movie, and he has sent the picture of the site to Kokomi. She is able to figure out the exact location of the shooting site by observing the picture. She then approaches Kusuo and asks him to take her to the site. She knows that Kusuo knows Makoto. She wants Kusuo to introduce her to Makoto. Kusuo has no choice but to accept. They board a train to the location. Upon getting there, Imu is already shaking as she sees Makoto from the distance. She starts to analyze everything about Makoto. She is so in love with Makoto that she faints. Makoto notices that Kusuo is on site. He takes a 5-minute break from the director. He approaches Kusuo and asks if Imu is his girlfriend, but Kusuo says no. Imu is already in another dimension when she sees Makoto standing in front of her. Makoto then sees Imu as an opportunity to go on a date with Kokomi. He suggests that the four of them go on a date, and Imu almost dies from excitement when she hears this. Kusuo is not interested, and he just ignores the duo and walks away. Sometime later, Kusuo starts working on an experiment. He creates doubles of himself. This is part of his plan to stop the volcanic eruption. He creates 37 clones of himself. They all have the same power as him. They have free will too. However, they all look different in one form or another. One looks like an alien while another looks like a cloud. Kusuo's parents send him on an errand. Kusuo decides to send the clone that looks like him the most. He resembles Kusuo very much, but he has curved legs. His teeth are also bad. Kusuo's clone gets to the store where he is to buy something, and he runs into Riki. Riki immediately notices the difference between the real Kusuo and the clone. However, he is an idiot and doesn't take it to heart. Riki starts to follow the double around. Kusuo needs to get rid of Riki, but he keeps foiling all of the plans Kusuo has. Plan later works, and they are able to distract Riki. The real Kusuo is able to switch places with the clone while Riki is distracted. Up next, Tuma approaches Kusuo to tell him that he has been observing him for the past 6 months. He has been able to come across some irregularities during this period. He is ready to tell Kusuo about everything that he has learned during this time. He wants to be invited into Kusuo's circle of friends, but Kusuo is not interested. Tuma then starts to tell Kusuo everything that he noticed. He tells Kusuo that he was following him on the day that he petrified Shun and Riki. However, he doesn't know if they were petrified. He just knows that the duo disappeared suddenly. Unknown to him, Kusuo has always known that Tuma is following him, so he has always put measures in place to block him whenever he wants to use his powers. Tuma also mentions that he was shadowing Kusuo on the day Hairo stopped the robbery. He knows that Kusuo was involved in stopping the robbery, but he has no proof. After listing out all the instances where he noticed irregularities, Tuma realizes that he has no proof. The only thing he can do is to give up. Tuma then tells Kusuo that he doesn't care about anything else. He just wants to know what happened when they were in elementary school. He knows that Kusuo did something to them when they were younger, and he wants to know. Kusuo gets tired of his blabbering and petrifies him. He needs time to find a solution. A flashback scene shows Kusuo when he was younger and attending elementary school. This is when he was still 6 years old and his brother was 8 years old. Their rivalry has started since they were kids. Kusuo was in the same class as Tuma. There is a particular boy, Takashi, who likes to show off his athletic skills to everyone. The whole class is fond of Takashi except Tuma. He believes that he can do better than Takashi, but he just needs to grow up. Kusuo is always tempted to do what Takashi is doing, but he always remembers his mother's words telling him not to let people know that he is a psychic. After school, Takashi and his crew corner Tuma in the park. They beat him up for not always acknowledging the fact that Takashi is amazing. Kusuo watches as they beat up the guy till he passes out. After they are gone, he goes over to the boy and uses his power to heal him. Tuma wakes up to see that he is completely fine. He wonders who could have done it. He looks around to find Kusuo's name tag on the floor. The following day, Tuma approaches Kusuo and gives him the name tag. Kusuo is amazing because he can do exceptional things, but Kusuo doesn't give him the impression that he has powers. Later on, Takashi bullies Tuma as usual. Kusuo then uses his power to make Takashi spin consecutively for some minutes. Tuma is able to figure out that Kusuo did it, but Kusuo puts on the innocent face. He looks at Tuma and he ends up petrifying him. He then takes Tuma to his room. Kusuo's father is shocked when he sees the petrified boy in their home. 1 year after that, Tuma continued with his constant pressure on Kusuo. He wants to be Kusuo's friend by all means. Tuma gets picked on by Takashi and his crew every day, but Kusuo doesn't want to interfere. If he does, Tuma will find out immediately that he is a psychic. He lets them pick on him as long as it is minor. One day after school, Kusuo is already walking home when he hears Takashi and his crew beating Tuma. They have beaten up to the extent that he is very weak. Kusuo is infuriated that they have taken it so far. He goes back to interfere and sees Takashi and his crew surrounding Tuma. Kusuo goes into rage mode and beats the boys up. He leaves half of the classroom destroyed after this. He then erases Tuma's memory of the event. He also erases the Takashi spinning memory from his head. He erases the memories of the bullies from when he entered the room. After he is gone, the boys wake up. They remember picking on Tuma before everything went black. They believe that Tuma did the damage and everything. Tuma, on the other hand, doesn't know why he has always been following Kusuo because he has no memories of what Kusuo has done in the past. After that, no one dares to pick on Tuma again because they believe that he is a psychic. Kusuo also transfers away from the school to prevent further suspicion. Kusuo is walking home when a girl appears in front of him. Before he could interact with the girl, she disappeared again. This girl is none other than Kusuo. He transformed into Kuriko, and he is from the future. He is there to make sure that Tuma doesn't find out that he is a psychic. He needs to change his appearance because he cannot afford to let the younger Kusuo know who he is. Kusuo starts trying different methods in an attempt to change the past and still keep the present and future intact. All he wants to do is find a suitable way to make sure that Tuma doesn't have any idea that he is a psychic. He also needs to avoid his younger self at the same time. There's another issue with changing the past. If he does it too much and not right, the future will end up in ruins. Everything will become an apocalyptic world. He needs to change things in small amounts. He also has 2 hours left before Tuma's petrification wears off and he knows for real that he is a psychic. Kusuo finally makes a final try. He comes back to the present to find out that Tuma is gone. He doesn't know if he succeeded in changing the past or not. Just then, his friends barge into his room. He then realizes that he is in another timeline where Kusuo and Kokomi are couples. He has also turned into a social person. He uses his power to return to the normal timeline. He is now waiting for Tuma to return to normal. Kusuo is not able to change anything from the past, and all he can do is to explain things to Tuma. Tuma hears that Kusuo is actually a psychic, and he starts shaking. He is so excited from the shock that he can't stop blabbering. Kusuo finally tells Tuma everything he wants to know. Tuma then tells him the reason he has been on his neck. He has always wanted to be sure that he was the one who saved him from bullies. He then thanks Kusuo for everything he did for him, and also promises not to tell anyone his secret. Kusuo is relieved that everything ended so well. Kusuo knows that he might end up telling his friends about his powers. He is ready to cross that bridge when it comes. Up next, Kokomi decides to prove that she is the beautiful, perfect girl that everyone sees her as. Determined to know everything about all the boys in the school. She wants to answer any question thrown at her on any given day. She starts studying hard because of this. Days later, she's done knowing everything about all of the boys in school. This makes her more popular. There's nothing that they ask her that she won't know. She even knows the blood types of every single one of them. She knows when they cut their hair or add shampoo to it. She even knows their ATM card passwords. The boys gather around Kokomi to ask her things. She's already feeling dizzy from exhaustion and no one notices. Kusuo is in the distance and he already knows that she will collapse. He gets there just in time to save her from falling. She passes out and he takes her to the nurse's station. Kokomi later wakes up to see the boys surrounding her. They tell her that Kusuo was the one who saved her. To get rid of the boys, she tells them that she doesn't remember anything again. She runs after Kusuo to thank him. In the next scene, Reita and Miko freak out when Kusuo tells them that Tuma now knows his secret. The duo is worried that Tuma can't keep his mouth shut, and he will end up spilling Kusuo's secret. They do not deem him worthy of being among the psychikers. They decide that they will test Kusuo to see if he will fail or not. They want to know if he can cope with them. They go to the class to try and get Tuma to speak excessively as he does. They hope that he will spill Kusuo's secret in the process. However, he surprises them. He sets them up for failure, and they are the ones who almost end up spilling Kusuo's secret. Kusuo loses his key, and the trio decides to make it a competition. If Miko and Reita find the key first, Tuma will not join them, but if he finds it, he will be considered worthy. They have not even finished the statement when Tuma tells them where the key is. He has been able to figure out how Kusuo lost the key, and how. Miko and Reita give up, and they accept Tuma into the group. It is the start of the 3rd term. Kusuo meets Shun at the gate, and he is surprised that Shun has changed. He is wearing a thicker uniform which he claims his mother made for him. Riki also shows up and he is now fat. Arin arrives with bandages all over his body. He says he was riding his bicycle when he fell off a cliff. He was in the ER for 8 hours, but he survived. Hairo also shows up and he is completely buffed. He looks like a professional bodybuilder. Kusuo is surprised to see this many changes over the course of the school break. None of the students are even reacting to the changes that occurred to the guys. However, Kokomi arrives and all of them are blown away. There is not much difference about Kokomi except for the fact that she has her hair in pigtails. This is the reason all of them are shocked and left in awe. Chiyo shows up and she is now fat again, just like she was in Season 1. Kusuo is confident that she will work on herself again. Mera arrives looking all glittery and shining. She is now very rich and she has changed her personality. She invested in Bitcoin and it paid off. She now sees her former friends as peasants. I'm dying of laughter. With the season coming to an end, we are reintroduced to all the casts and what they are now up to. Uryoku is now a master magician. Kusuo is walking out of the cafe when he runs into his nemesis, Makoto. Makoto accuses Kusuo of coming to the cafe because of Kokomi. Kusuo is rid of him when people see through Makoto's disguise to find out that he is the popular actor, Mugami. The crowd surrounds him and Kusuo uses the opportunity to escape. He arrives to find out that his grandparents and his brother are around. He doesn't want to enter, but he hears his grandmother talking about coffee jelly and he runs inside without hesitation. Kusuo gets back to school the next day to find out that all of his friends have gone back to the way they were. Even Mera is now broke because the Bitcoin market crashed. Kusuo is relieved that everything has gone back to the way it was as it should be. At this point, we have reached the end of our video. If you like it, do not forget to put the like button and subscribe for more new videos.